All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And thank you for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up there. We have certainly an interesting topic to go over and talk about today. We have a new report regarding the situation that's going on with Microsoft. And it sounds pretty bad. Sounds like the situation is pretty bad over there for Microsoft. Boss, it's too early. You can't drink that, dude. But yes, we are talking about Microsoft. We're talking about the situation with Xbox and how it seems like apparently the majority of Xbox games will be coming to PS5. And a major reason for this, well, there are two major reasons. Number one is because Xbox sales are essentially flatlining, which is not at all surprising. And the second reason is developers are now beginning to question, like apparently some major publishers and developers are beginning to question if it's even worth porting their games to Xbox. I'm just starting early, guys. 25 memberships, let's go. I'm just starting early. He knows. Boss already knows. He's like, if I annoy him hard enough, in just the first couple minutes, he'll cave. But guys, before we dive into this topic and this discussion, I want to just first shout out everybody and thank everybody for watching the streams. If you tune in live, thank you for that. If you are watching later on because you can't tune in live, thank you as well. Hit that like button. We are sitting at about 50 likes. We can easily crush 100 likes. It helps the streams tremendously. Lets me know that you guys enjoy the streams. So be sure to hit that like button. There are 3 ways you can support my channel and my content directly. First, consider becoming a channel member. Gain access to some exclusive perks. Help support me and the content directly. If you are already a channel member, consider gifting channel memberships. Let's see if we can have a big day with membership gifting. I would like to hit a goal. I'm not going to say what that goal is, but I would like to hit a goal. I'll give you an update. If we seem to get somewhat close to hitting that goal at any point in time, I will give you an update on the total member count. The goal's 200. Sure, we could just go with that. We'll make the goal 200, guys. Let's do it. But yeah, consider gifting memberships. It's a big thing we do here. A lot of people... A lot of community members very appreciative of those membership gifts. And last but not least, consider donating a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It all helps tremendously. So shout out to all of you guys once again for continuing to support what I do here. We have a super chat from Arnie Vesper saying, "Good morning, Viet MBG." Well, good morning to you, Arnie Vesper, and thank you for that. We have Boss already chewing the mic. We have Figuratively Literal saying, "On Bend, I think it's noteworthy that it doesn't say multiplayer live service like other games did, just AAA live service. Plus, they have said it is single player." And we have Corey, the Legend Landiga, kicking today off, immediately showing some support. Corey, thank you so much, man. Corey's been doing a ton of heavy lifting for this community. I want to see some of you guys back Corey up today, okay? I want to see some of you guys back him up if you're able to. Corey starts us off strong with 5 memberships gifted. I'm going to add that to the counter. Good stuff, man. Boss, please. Boss, do not make me kick you out, bro. Can you guys see this? Yeah, you can see that. If my mic collapses and just breaks, you know why. Bro. But figuratively literal, to answer your super chat here, man, yeah, I get what you're saying. It does say AAA live service. It doesn't say, like, you know, or sorry, you're saying it says AAA live service, not multiplayer live service. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I feel like we're kind of splitting hairs at this point, you know? If I'm being honest. Chill, boss. We got Hellbound 1981. Hellbound 1981 follows up Corey's 5 bomb, drops a 5 of his own. You guys are starting off today strong immediately out of the gate, getting us up to 10 members, boss. You can't do that. You're going to disconnect the stream, buddy. Hellbound, thank you so much for that, man. Corey and Hellbound immediately hitting the ground running with the membership gifts. Love to see it. Like swallowing Boss's hair here. Come on. It's too much. It's too much, boss. Too much hair. But figuratively literal, listen, I understand what you're saying, but I don't feel comfortable making the assumption that because they said AAA live service and not multiplayer live service, it's worth noting, figuratively literal, sorry, I'm having trouble saying your name, that they did confirm, Sony Ben did confirm that their game is going to have multiplayer in it. So again, I think it's just a bit of wishful thinking to assume that, you know, just because they used AAA instead of multiplayer in their job description, I think it's safe to say it's gonna be a multiplayer live service game. Could it come in a different form? Yeah, but we'll see, man. Boss, let go. You can't. God, I'm gonna strangle you, boy. This is the day I lose it on Boss. This is the day I lose it. He is pushing my buttons, man. I need to talk about Xbox. I need to talk about the situation with Xbox, and Boss won't let me. We have Beezer1138 saying, can you discuss Microsoft officially banning devs from creating games with attractive females? Yes, that is part of today's discussion. I didn't get to that, but yeah, there is a very unfortunate and frankly bizarre situation, in my opinion, unfolding with Microsoft, where they are essentially suggesting to developers or highly recommending that they don't create female characters looking a certain way with like exaggerated body parts. It's ridiculous. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe that this is something we are going to be discussing today, but yes, it is a thing. It is apparently a thing. So I do have that lined up on the docket today, Beezer. So just stay tuned. Corey, you're saying Boss is just being a hero. Boss, they're going to start thinking you're an X-bot, bro. They're going to start thinking you're an X-bot. Domingo813, longtime member, 46 months. Domingo, shout out to you for that, man. Saying, hey, MBG, did we get new badges for memberships? Not yet. They're still in the works. Just be patient. My guy's working on it. They'll come. They'll come. We're going to have a channel refresh when it comes to the membership stuff and the emojis and whatnot, you know. So just hang tight, all right? Hang tight. Dude, Swift Guyver, it's not even that, dude. It's not that. It's just like, it's okay. Like, that's okay. I don't have a problem with it, of course, but that's okay. Like, that should be allowed. Like, that should not be dissuaded any more than, like, okay, if you're gonna like say, hey, okay, don't make female characters look this way. Don't make them look too curvy or bodacious or whatever the hell it is, you know, that they, however they want to word it. Then you also gotta say, don't make them look like super hideous either, or unreasonably, you know, ugly. You see what I'm saying? See, they both sound stupid. Like, just make characters, man. That's all. Like, who cares? This is just weird rules and guidelines and suggestions that people are making where it's like, okay, you know, I'm telling you, this is because of Stellar Blade, man. Too many people are upset over Stellar Blade's character, and it's like, who the fuck cares, man? You know, some horny dudes made this character the way that they did, gave it, you know, they gave this character all the jiggle physics, and a lot of dudes who, you know, are into that are like, yo, I'm going to play this game now, and they're going to make good money. And it's like, if it offends you, then don't fucking buy it and don't play it. That's it. Like, that's it. Find something you do want to play. Find something you do want to support. Why is that so hard for people, man? You're going to start telling video game developers, stop making men so jacked and so buff, so unreasonably muscular. No, you're not going to hear anybody say that shit. But it's basically the same thing. saying I'm still running with this? Running with what, though? Oh, well, I mean, I didn't go over the actual article, but we'll get there. You know what? We'll start with that. We'll start with that, and then we'll segue into the. I'll just let you know what's going on here. Microsoft cautions developers to avoid curvy female characters. Microsoft urges developers not to create female characters with, quote, exaggerated body proportions, end quote, on their official site to support game devs. The site, titled Product Inclusion Action, oh Christ, help customers feel seen, includes a bullet list of considerations they urge developers to make when working on their product. One Twitter user pointed out the language expressly condemning certain female characters as reinforcing, quote, negative gender stereotypes. Jesus Christ. Okay. Here are the bullet points. Are you reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes? Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Oh man. Okay. Are you? Sorry, there's too many ads bouncing around all over the place. It says, are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions? When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability? Well, I'm glad they included that. You got to make sure if you're going to have male characters in there, they can't just be stoic rocks. Gamers have been more vigilant in recent weeks following an attempted harassment campaign initiated by an employee of Sweet Baby Inc. against a Steam curator and his personal account. The controversy has spilled over from the employee's actions to a wider conversation about narrative consultation in video games. Yeah, so that's Microsoft. Massive L, bro. Massive L. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy that these are like suggestions that are being made to development teams. Like Microsoft, maybe you should focus more on developers actually bringing games to your platform and less about, I don't want to say censoring, but, telling them how they should or shouldn't make their games. Maybe that's what you should focus on, Microsoft. Shit's ridiculous. Saying it looks like Microsoft will never learn. I mean, they should. I'm just curious. Like, I'm just curious. What do they mean when they say, like with the bodily proportions? Like, what do they mean? They should elaborate further. Because boss, I'm going to have to eject you from the stream, bro. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. But yeah, where it says here, do they have exaggerated body proportions? What does that mean? Like, what, I mean, what could that truly be referring to? Exaggerated body proportions. I'm telling you, man, this is all insecurity bullshit. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. Because it would be like saying, like, don't make men too buff in video games because it might hurt the feelings of non-buff people. Oh man, look at how ripped his biceps are. Look how jacked this character's fucking pecs are. He has abs. I feel like shit about myself. Like, dude, who cares? Like, who cares? And if you want to make a regular fucking looking character that's not jacked, that's fine too. But I just think people are getting all in their feelings over the dumbest shit. Oh man, this character has boobs. Big boobs. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I know what we should do. We should suggest don't make that character have big boobs. Make them smaller. Yes, that's what we do. Make them smaller. Like, Okay, not sure if you know, but there's a lot of women with very large breasts walking planet Earth. It's okay. It's okay. It's almost like being shitty towards, like, you know what I mean? It's almost like being offensive towards women who actually have those bodily proportions. Whatever, man. I don't know. People are getting too weird about this shit. Xbox, massive L, bro. The first L you're taking today. MG, the wife, is probably watching this thinking, what the fuck am I hearing? No, she'd probably agree with me, honestly. You know? Like, it's not nearly as serious as these extremists on the internet want to make it sound. It's not. Everybody has different bodily proportions, and that's okay. Machiavelli 24 is asking the real question, but MBG, is Halo coming to PlayStation? You're saying actual women love Stellar Blade? I don't see, dude, I don't see anything really wrong with Stellar Blade. My only thing is, like, I hope that when the game demo drops, like, my hope is that the focus is mainly on the gameplay. I mean, I can understand why it's going to be on other things, but I don't know, man. I'm like, yesterday I watched the trailer for the demo, and I'm like, dude, this game looks awesome. Like, the gameplay looks really, really good. The combat looks fun. That's what's getting me most excited. But all right, so let's dive into the main topic of discussion today, which is the situation that's going on with Microsoft. Let me bring up the article here. I'm not going to bring it up on screen just for the sake of keeping things flowing smoothly here. So before I move on to that, though, I have Brett Williams here, member for 16 months, saying representation matters, but that means we should get all body types, including ones with jiggly physics. We need to have variety, and that's good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with that. I'm telling you, this whole push for, like, we need to have proper representation and inclusion. It's like, that's all fine, well, and good until you include something that somebody else doesn't want to see in the game, and then that person gets upset, and it just becomes a clear, like, one-sided situation where it's like, I don't know about that. It's a slippery slope. I'm telling you, it's a slippery slope. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, are there shitty people out there that are too mean or too perverted? Yeah. Like, there are people that take things too far, but that's you can't change that. There's always going to be those people, no matter what. And the more you try to think you can control that, the worse you're going to make it. You know what I mean? Boss, please go on your cat tower, bro. I got to start talking about this shit with Xbox, and you're making it difficult. Geronimo says inclusivity is good mostly. Don't let weird corpos ruin that concept. Yeah, I agree. When it's organic, when it makes sense, you know, like when it's not strangely forced to fit a certain agenda or, you know, ideology, then I think it's, yeah, to me that's fine. But anyway, let's move on to the topic at hand here. I have an article from Push Square. It says Xbox planning to release the majority of its exclusives on PS5. Xbox will apparently release the majority of its tentpole first-party titles on PS5 in the future as its multi-platform strategy gathers pace. Earlier in the year, the Redmond firm broadcast a strategic business meeting where it announced 4 console-exclusive titles, including Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, would launch on Sony's console. While it stopped short of confirming other rumored releases, it insinuated that this was simply the start of a new philosophy for the firm. And according to GamesIndustry.biz's well-connected Christopher Dring, there's much more to come. Quote, from what I understand, the majority of Xbox's first-party games will be coming to PS5 at some point, assuming it progresses as Xbox believes it will. End quote. This is what he said on a recent podcast. Quote, I think Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer, and that was the thing that came out of GDC for me, end quote. So for those who don't know, GDC just occurred. This is where, all developers from all different publishers and game developers from around the world, they gather together and they talk obviously a lot of game dev stuff, but it also, there are things about the business side as well that start to come out. And it says, in the wake of flatlining hardware sales in Europe, Christopher Dring explained that some video game publishers are pondering whether to even continue supporting the Xbox console. You can follow our monthly coverage in the games market, and you can see that Xbox sales are falling, and it's falling all throughout last year, and it's falling even harder this year, he noted. The phrase one major company who released a big game last year said was, quote, I don't know why we bothered supporting it, end quote. So that, to me, these are the alarm bells, okay? I'm not trying to be doom and gloom for Xbox, but that's an alarm bell that if you're an Xbox player, you should be absolutely worried about that. Apparently, a AAA video game publisher that shipped a AAA video game on Xbox last year he quoted them saying, and this was said behind, I don't know if it was behind closed doors, but it was at GDC. I'm assuming this was said in confidence. I don't even know why we bothered. Yes, that is an absolute yikes. And this is for people who want to know why Microsoft is suddenly shifting to, putting some of their games, even though it's just 4 right now, putting some of their games onto other consoles and rival consoles. When Phil Spencer talked about the health of the Xbox brand, this is exactly what he was talking about. He knows. Phil's not stupid. He knows better than anybody that this is something that is going to continue to get worse as Xbox sales continue to flatline. And, they're trying to find a way to mitigate that. And it's something that I can honestly say doesn't surprise me, but I know that some people out there are going to continue to be in some kind of denial where I just don't think they realize how dire the situation has become for specifically Xbox hardware and the actual platform itself. Is Xbox going to go away? Absolutely not. Is Microsoft going to stop publishing games? Absolutely not. Is Xbox going to lose all their money and go bankrupt? And no, none of that's going to happen. But what realistically is seemingly beginning to happen, and this is the worst thing that could happen to Xbox, is developers are going to just forego it. And they're just going to say exactly that. Why bother? There's hardly any consoles out there. The sales are flatlining. The install base has been conditioned to basically expect games through Game Pass and not actually buy them in most cases. Why should we bother when most of the sales are on PlayStation and Nintendo and PC? And so if you're Xbox, you really are in a pinch right now where it's this is not good, because what Xbox obviously would like to do is maintain the audience and the customer base that they have right now. For those who did buy an Xbox, we don't want to lose you. We don't want to lose you, even though it might not be as big as the competition and all that. We don't want to lose you. Well, this is going to be the quickest way you lose everybody, is if developers start deciding we're just not making Xbox ports anymore or Xbox versions. You're going to lose people. They're going to drop like flies. They are. And you can't blame them, because why would you continue to support a console or platform that's not getting games, right? I just saw that there was another game. It's a game I actually was looking forward to. Somebody told me about it. They were like, yo, check out this. It's like an Italian Souls-like. And and I wasn't aware of it. And I saw the trailer for it. This was like a couple weeks ago. Maybe somebody can give me the name of the game. But the developers just announced that, like, yeah, this isn't coming to Xbox. I was like, okay, that sucks. I mean, it doesn't affect me. I was going to get it on PlayStation anyway, but yeah, it's just not coming to Xbox. Lies of Pizza? No, that's not the one. 18 May, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying here, I'm getting a certain type of nostalgia, like playing a rated M game as a kid while my mom is asleep, but now it's me playing Stellar Blade with the skin suit equipped, and my girlfriend takes our dog for a walk. Damn, 18 May. Damn. You got to play it in secret. Well, look, everybody's focused on that one suit in Stellar Blade, but I'm honestly like, I would like to see all the others. Apparently, they put like a lot of work and effort into all these different customization options for Eve's character, and I'm like, okay, like I get it, the skin suit. I understand why that's going to be appealing to a lot of people, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm like genuinely curious to see what else you guys worked on here. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, look, let me ask you, was anybody saying anything about Raiden when he was naked in MGS2 doing cartwheels and shit? I mean, I'm genuinely asking, I don't know. What, like, were people saying were people complaining? Were people appalled? I mean, I was surprised. I'll tell you, like, I wasn't expecting that shit, but like, come on. Yeah, we're quiet. Yeah, well, people did complain about Quiet, actually. Yes, we were, because it was a dude. Damn, that's absolutely believable. No, I don't think anybody was complaining. I think people were just like, whoa, didn't see that shit coming. I was extremely offended. All right, but thank you for the super chat, 18 May. We got Machiavelli 24, member for 3 months, saying devs are starting to skip Xbox this gen. Their hardware is declining hella bad. Yeah, and that's the thing, dude. It's not, what I'm saying in my title here is apparently not an exaggeration. At least in Europe, the hardware sales are completely flatlining. Like literally no one's buying Xboxes in Europe. So are people still buying Xboxes in the US? Yeah, probably. It's probably doing pretty well. They're pretty decent. But their market is shrinking like rapidly. And I think it's only going to get worse. I do. I really think that if this is what we're seeing now, and as of now, Microsoft only announced 4 games, and we're already starting to see some developers being like, yeah, we're not porting our games to Xbox, I think it's only going to get worse over time. And it's interesting because Microsoft did already commit to making another Xbox console. They're calling it like the largest technical leap. But my question in all seriousness is, by the time that happens, whether it be 2026, 2027, or after, will it matter? Does it even matter now? It's one thing if the consumer base, if the customer base is not that interested. It's another when the developers start to lose interest. That's when shit gets real. And according to what Christopher Dring is saying here, shit is getting real really fast. Neutral Zone, member for 10 months, says, this is bullshit. Why didn't Chris say who it was? It is always trust me, bro sources. I don't believe any of them insiders. I understand, Neutral Zone. I'm not telling you to walk away believing this 100%, but I mean, come on, man. Like, does this not track at all? Like, does this really sound unbelievable? I mean, I don't take Christopher Dring as the type of individual, again, somebody who's well connected and attended GDC. I don't see, by the way, he did say something about the PS5 Pro. Just so you know, we're not covering that today. We'll probably cover that tomorrow. But believe me, it's not all good. Like, he's not just saying one thing that he learned at GDC, and that one thing is about Xbox. He learned multiple things at GDC, and he's conveying them. And we'll talk about that situation with the PS5 Pro tomorrow, but today we're focused on Microsoft. And specifically to me, the big thing here is that he's saying that, yeah, the majority of Xbox titles are coming to PS5. Apparently, even just mentioning that, PlayStation fans are suddenly now port beggars. Realistically, though, there's no need to beg for anything. We didn't beg for Sea of Thieves, yet we got it, and we're supporting it. We're buying it. People are clearly excited to play Sea of Thieves, and it's a win-win, essentially. PlayStation fans are happy to buy this game and play it. Microsoft's happy to take our money. I'm curious to see just how well a game like Sea of Thieves does on PlayStation, because if it does that well, that could be a big deal for Microsoft, a very big deal. But it's not, people who are very upset and very hurt by this whole situation, that's all they can fall on is saying it's port begging. But Neutral Zone, to get back to what you're saying, you don't have to believe this, but I will just say, go look at the sales in Europe of Xbox. Just look at the sales in general. Look at how we just saw developers say they're not bringing their game to Xbox. Apparently, by the way, I don't have the name of this game. I should have screenshotted this. I don't have the name of this game, but yesterday I saw people saying that there was a game that appeared at last year's Xbox showcase that was going to be day one on Game Pass, and it was featured during Xbox's showcase. The Xbox version's canceled. It's not coming to Xbox now at all. Entoria, is that what it's called? Yeah, I'm going to have to... I'll look it up. Let me see if that's the name of the game. Entoria, I think that's the... Entoria, I think, is the Souls-like that I mentioned. Yeah, Entoria, the last song, this is the Souls-like. It's a Souls-like RPG. It's confirmed for PlayStation and PC, and they said that they're not doing an Xbox version. I don't know the name of this other game, though. I missed the name of it, but I saw yesterday that a lot of Xbox fans were basically freaking out because they were like, what the fuck? Like, this game literally was at... You're saying are you sure it's the same game? I don't know. I saw people showing footage of this game yesterday, and it did not look like Entoria. Maybe you're right, though. Maybe it was the same game. That would be... Dude, that's even weirder. That makes even less sense. If Entoria is the game that was actually featured during the Xbox showcase, and then it gets canceled for Xbox? That would be wild. Well, listen, people are getting I think very upset. Some people, and I understand why. Some people are getting very upset at Christopher's Ring here because they're like, yeah, like, bro, who said this? Who's saying this? Who's the publisher? Obviously, he's not going to name the publisher. He's not going to do that. And it's wise of him not to do that, because if he does, it's a big risk. Hold on. Forgot to turn my light on there. It's getting a little too dark. It's a big risk for him, but again, like, there's nothing about this that's even remotely unbelievable. My whole question is, it's not even a question. Like, I told people last month when that whole situation with Xbox happened, I was like, guys, like, this is the beginning of the end for Xbox in terms of, like, they are transforming, man. Like, they're going to transform right before our eyes, where they're going to be, that they're gonna be a different type of platform holder. That they're gonna be a platform holder, frankly, where the hardware is pretty much irrelevant for them, and they're gonna have no choice. But when they talk about that hardware, when they market it, when they put it out there, when they try to convince people to buy it, they're going to have no choice but to basically downplay it and be like, there's not really an actual reason for you to buy this hardware over the competitions or to just stick to your PC. But it's here if you really want it. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I think that maybe is a bit concerning for maybe competition. But I mean, when it comes to the consumer side of it, like, I just think most people are going to be like, I'm good. Before I read the rest of these super chats, though, I got a little bit ahead of myself here. Let me read the last part of this article. I actually didn't finish the article. It says here, Christopher Dring quoted other high-level executives who noted a lot of work goes into creating multiple versions of Xbox games, so they scale across both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S hardware profiles, he explained. Quote, you've got third-party publishers going, we're putting in a lot of effort trying to create the Series S version and the X version of a game when, to be honest with you, for us, the market is PC and PS5. Now, something else that Christopher Dring noted is that apparently Microsoft is going to be putting less of a focus on Game Pass going forward. Like, it's not nearly as much of a priority for them as it once was. And again, this should not surprise literally anybody. This shouldn't surprise anybody. When it comes to not just Xbox hardware sales, but also Game Pass subscribers are not growing. They're just not. And it doesn't mean that they can't grow or they won't grow. It's just this is where they are right now. And so if you're Microsoft, yeah, you're probably going to pump the brakes a little bit on Game Pass because you can only dump so much money over so many years into something like Game Pass to see minimal results. And that's what I need people to realize is that Microsoft is seeing minimal results with everything they're doing. In fact, do not be surprised if the best results Microsoft sees in years comes from PlayStation and from Nintendo, from these platforms with install bases of people who buy games. Like, don't be surprised if they are like, holy shit, this is like one of the best decisions we ever made. And I think most of you won't be surprised, but you know, there's, again, I just think that there's still some people in denial. And I get it. It sounds pretty bad. And it is. Like, this isn't bad. I want to make it clear, like, this isn't bad for Microsoft as a whole, necessarily, or the Xbox brand as a whole. It's bad for their original ambitions and plans. It's bad for their console. It's bad. It is kind of bad for their platform if more like that, you know, the whole idea of certain publishers being like, dude, we're putting money and resources and effort and dev time into Series X and S versions to get these things running. And we don't even consider you like a valuable part of the market. Like, to us, it's PC and PS5. That is concerning. But I guess I just mean, like, this is likely why Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. Because they must have seen the writing on the wall somewhere along the way where they were like, because again, if Christopher Dring is being told this by high-level people secretly at GDC, then you already know Microsoft has known this for some time. This is not a secret to Microsoft. This is not something that Microsoft is just now learning. And so they probably saw the writing on the wall a while ago, and they realized that our way out is by becoming a publisher. And we need to prepare for that. And I think it's smart. I think it's, to be honest, I do think that is the smartest thing for Microsoft to do at this point in time, because I do think we're past the point of no return. I really do believe we are past the point of no return when it comes to the Xbox console, unfortunately. Not to say that there's anything wrong with wanting to support the Xbox console, or if that's your preferred place to play. It's just, I don't think it goes up from here. I don't. We have Fredmine 24 saying it turns out the best value in gaming tanked the whole brand. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from. it's hard to say it like tanked the whole brand, because it's like, well, again, Xbox isn't going to go anywhere, and Microsoft's still going to be raking in the money from their games. Like, again, I said this last month, and I will continue to say it. The biggest thorn in Microsoft's side right now is the Xbox fan base. I know that sounds insane, but it's true. And I'm not saying the entire Xbox fan base, specifically the really diehard fans. You know, like, Microsoft had to come out last month and kind of talk to them. You know, like, we gotta calm these tantrums down. And I get it. I understand. I'm part of the fandom to an extent, not Xbox fandom, but, you know, the consoles, the games, and the brand and whatnot. I get it. But, you know, that was the biggest thorn in Microsoft's side, where it's like, Microsoft is looking at the numbers. They're looking at the reality, and they're like, fuck, this is bad. Like, we can't stop. Like, we've tried, and it's just like, it's not stopping. We can't stop the bleeding. And, you know, I think Microsoft did the best they could in trying to calm the fan base down and being like, guys, don't worry. Like, we're still here. We're still dedicated to you. We still support Game Pass. We're still supporting console. But they also initiated a complete... They initiated something that is only reserved for, like, the most critical of moments, where this is now sink or swim. Like, we need to make money. Like, now. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Because Game Pass isn't making us money. Our consoles aren't making us money. And we're getting minimal returns on our games on our own platform. Like, we need to make money right now. And, you know, you mentioned the idea of, like, Game Pass being their kind of downfall, or tank them, as you say. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, because when you look back at why Game Pass was created, again, that was another, like, sink or swim moment. You know, the Xbox console was still on the ropes then. Maybe not as much as it is now, but it was looking bad. You know, like, the Xbox One, so much damage was done, and people were not supporting this console anywhere near the same way they were supporting the PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. People were not buying games nearly as much as Microsoft was hoping, especially their exclusive games. And a lot of their exclusives just flopped, man. And so them creating Game Pass was essentially like, all right, this is our way out. And they supported it for a long time. And they still are. But I'm just saying, like, up until this point, they really put everything they could into it. But it seems like it's like a day late and a dollar short. Either that, or people just didn't really want it as much as they thought. You know, they were like, it's the Netflix of gaming, and that sounded great on paper, but I guess, like, no one ever really stopped to ask, like, but do people really want the Netflix of gaming right now? Like, is the timing right? And there are definitely some people that do, but Microsoft, I guess, in their mind, they were like, well, we're going to hit 50, 60, 70 million subs. And it's like, you're not. You're not even going to hit 35 million. You're not even going to hit 40 million. You know, like, you're like, hitting 100 million subs is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. At least not anytime remotely soon. And I think what we are seeing now is basically Plan C. I think Plan A was the Xbox One, the future of gaming, the Kinect, the all-in-one entertainment box, and that fucking plan was a disaster like no other. And then Game Pass, I think, was Plan B, which is, all right, this is our way to kind of turn things around and you know, get where we need to go, just in a different way. And now I think we are seeing the beginnings of Plan C, which is, okay, nothing we're doing is working, and we just have to focus on making sure that our investments do not tank the entire brand. Yes. So I guess, yeah, that kind of going through those motions, it seems like, yeah, Game Pass, it was kind of the, you know, the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. And again, I know that there are people who get upset where I'm making it sound so dire, but it's like, it is. Like, Microsoft literally came out last month and basically told you, like, we are very concerned about the overall health of the Xbox brand. And so just know that anything we do going forward is in the name of keeping the Xbox brand alive. That's what they said. So it doesn't mean that, again, it just means that if you're a fan, you have to reevaluate what exactly that means for you. Because I think for some Xbox fans, it was like, it's about exclusives. It's about having games on our platform that PlayStation doesn't get, or that PlayStation players are gonna have to come over here to get. And it's like, that doesn't exist. That's not going to exist in the future for Microsoft, because it just can't. It doesn't work for Microsoft. And I think that, now we're seeing, again, I just want it to be known that February, the conversation was about Microsoft's games on their own platform. It was about Microsoft's games on their own platform. And now we're at the end of March. We're beginning to hear rumblings from GDC that now the conversation is bleeding over into now third parties are questioning. And that is the natural progression of things. You have Microsoft setting the signal, or setting the table, so to speak, sending the clear message that we're having such trouble making money from our own games on our own platforms and making sales that we now have to resort to going to other platforms. If you're a third-party publisher, what message are you getting from Microsoft there? What message are you getting? Knowing that you have to put X amount of time, X amount of resources into getting a Series S version of a game running, when you're probably already questioning how relevant the Xbox console even is at this point, or the platform. How relevant is this platform at this point? This was always how it was going to go, and it's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen. And I just think that people should brace themselves for that. That's all. We have Pony up here saying, don't care after Microsoft encouraged devs to stop making women in games curvy. Despite girls actually being curvy, they flatten in-game models and make them look like the new Fable main character. Let them fail. Yeah, I'm kind of behind you on that one, man. I hope Sony doesn't make this dumbass mistake. I mean, Sony clearly doesn't feel that way, because they signed Stellar Blade as an exclusive and they are funding it and publishing it. So I'm in agreement. Fuck them, dude. Like, it's just, I'll be honest, man. I look at Xbox and I look at Microsoft and I think there's no possible way you could get worse, right? Like, there's no way you could get worse. And then they do something like this, or something like this comes out. It's like, no, we can get worse. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm good. I just, y'all forgot about Abby. Listen, I think many people have made it known how they feel about Abby. But hey, here's the point though. Here's the point about that though. Yeah, we see a character like Abby coming from Naughty Dog, and Sony's like, okay. But we also see a character like Eve from Stellar Blade, and Sony's like, okay. You see what I'm saying? That's the fucking difference. I don't like Sony is not encouraging this development team making Stellar Blade to say, please shrink her assets, change her face a little bit, make her more buff. They're not doing that. And they didn't do that to Naughty Dog. Sony wasn't the one who told Naughty Dog to make Abby buff. That's what Naughty Dog wanted to do. And you see, to me, there you go. We're covering the whole spectrum here. You got buff, tough chicks, and you got curvy chicks, and they're all main characters. You can choose who you want to play as. This is why I tried telling people, just gravitate towards what you want. We don't need this kind of bullshit where they're coming in and being like, hey, take this into consideration when you're making your character. Fuck off. Just let people make what they want. And let the market decide. From Abby to Aloy to Eve, the spectrum is covered. Abby can ragdoll me any day, says Cario. Well, see, not everybody hates Abby. That's funny as shit, dude. We got Kyle. So Pony Up, thank you for the super chat, by the way. We got Kyle coming in saying, are we talking about the Xbots group, the same that state everyone wins with the acquisitions? Now that everyone wins, we begging, LOL, let me drink. Dude, it's sad, man. Like, over on Twitter, all I simply did was ask the question. I just asked the question. Do you think more Xbox games are going to come to PlayStation? And the amount of people that I saw that are clearly Xbox, yes, they're clearly fanboys. The amount of people that come out and they're like, LOL, PlayStation pony port beggars. And it's like, it's a literal question, dude. And that's not an answer. Yeah, I know. You're saying I struck a nerve. Dude, I didn't even try. That's not even me trying. That is the opposite of me trying. I'm just asking a question. And the reason why I asked that question is because of the conversation we're having today. Like, I was genuinely curious to see what people had to say. And the amount of replies I saw saying that, like, I'm telling you, man, it's all they have left to say. That is literally the only thing they have left to say, because they think for some reason that, like, that hurts PlayStation fans. Like, actually, you know what? PlayStation fans maybe we should start port begging even more. Because clearly Microsoft is listening. And you know why they're listening? Because we're paying customers. I can't speak for myself. I'm not buying any of the games from this first batch. But clearly you look at the pre-order charts, and I saw somebody say, somebody else was like, well, I think it's safe to say that, you know, the conversation about Xbox having no games is officially over now. It's like, yeah, that's been over for a long time. Again, Microsoft literally bought 2 publishers. I don't think anybody was accusing Microsoft of not having games at that point. The question then became, does Xbox have a viable platform, though? See, that's the shit that sucks for these hardcore Xbox fans. Where, like, I just don't think that they realize that it's great. Like, yeah, cheer on Microsoft owning more games, but you might want to question if you're going to have a platform anymore in the long run with the way they're going, you know? But to be fair, I don't think the Xbox platform is going anywhere necessarily. I just think that the console might be on its way out if it isn't already. And I do think that Xbox is going to become like a second or third class platform, to be honest. Like, I think that if more developers choose to walk away, Microsoft chooses to port more of their games to PlayStation and Nintendo. You know, more and more developers over time choose to forego making Xbox versions. I think at that point it becomes clear. It's like, if you want a first class like gaming platform experience, you don't go to Xbox. That's if what Christopher Dring is saying is true. If these are the conversations that are actually occurring at GDC from publishers and developers, that is where this is headed. You think Xbox is Windows Phone 2.0? No, I don't agree with that, because I do think, well, I guess maybe in a way, because if you think about it, like, everything that was offered on Windows Phone eventually made its way. Boss, you are highly annoying me, bro. It made its way to Android and Apple, and then Windows Phone, like the actual Windows Phone hardware, eventually ceased to exist. So you might be right. That could actually be exactly where it's going in the long run. Holy shit, Phil, for real, bro. Some unhinged conversation happening in the chat right now. Truly unhinged. Figuratively literal, you're saying, did you see the Push Square article on Santa Monica? It's small, but it's nice to get some good news from PlayStation Studios amid the doom and gloom. Yeah, I actually have an article talking about that up. That was going to be a bonus topic we discuss at the end of, or towards the second half of this stream. Absolutely. But yeah, figuratively literal. Thank you for pointing that out, man. Because it is, yeah, it's a little bit of a tease, essentially. It's a little bit of a tease. We have Kane Z7 saying, what about that Xbox executive that said that Activision Blizzard King games will indeed come day one on Game Pass? Oh my God. You said Game Piss. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, Kane, and assume that was a typo. Holy shit. You guys are getting aggressive today. Was she lying? No. I would hope not. I mean that would be bad. That would be very bad. I'm going to say no, she wasn't lying. I'm going to say that if they were not ready and willing to like put every game onto Game Pass anymore, they would have had to say so, or at least word it differently. I think if that was their intention, they would have worded it differently. I'm assuming that every single game that Microsoft owns, when it releases, will launch on Game Pass. And I think it can work because, I think it can work because, again, like, they're going to get all the sales from PS5. They'll get whatever Xbox sales they can that choose not to get it through Game Pass. And then some of these games, I'm assuming, if they're really going to be multi-platform, which it seems like they are, we're thinking about the Switch 2 now. Call of Duty is eventually going to come to the Switch 2. So maybe that's how they could kind of make up for it potentially while still maintaining some kind of Game Pass growth. Boss, I'm gonna have to eject you from the stream, bro. Come lay down. Come relax. Come lay down. Just chill. This cat drives me insane, bro. But yeah, Kane, I don't think she was lying. I think that if they get to a point where they have no choice. Hold on. All right, it's time to go. It's time to go, boss. I warned you. If they had no choice, boss. Hellbound's like, no. I really don't want to. Look, the only thing that's making me nervous, I've gotten pretty used to dealing with most of Boss's shit here. The one thing that actually makes me the most nervous is I have this big cup of Element here, and he keeps walking over to it like he's going to do something to it. And I'm like, dude, you knock over this drink, this big glass, we're going to have a fucking problem. We have a real problem. So he's making me nervous. Come on, guys. Let's get to 25 members so I can give Boss more snacks. We get to 25 members. I'll give him more snacks, and maybe he'll actually chill out. He knows. I didn't give him his normal amount of snacks, so he knows. At some point, he's going to end up knocking my camera over, too. Come on. Out the way. Let's see. We have King Sam here saying, member for 11 months. The moment it's clear future Xbox games will be timed exclusives and will eventually come to PlayStation, I'm selling my Series X. No other reason to own. Yeah, I don't have a Series X, so there's nothing to sell, but I won't lie. Like, I'm kind of glad I didn't buy a Series X because I think that's already here. Like, I think that's obvious, dude. Like, I think anybody who genuinely believes that Starfield won't at some point come to PlayStation, I think is just lying to themselves. It's very obvious. It's very obvious it's going to come to PlayStation. I have to cave, dude. I can't deal with it. There you go, man. Making me break my rules over here. So King Sam, I mean, I can't blame you though, There have been multiple rumors that even a game like Hellblade 2 is eventually going to come to PlayStation. And I'm not sitting here saying like it definitely is. I'm just saying I believe that. It could be false, but I believe that because why wouldn't it? That game has good sales potential on PlayStation, like very good sales potential. And it's a game that I am interested in, but I will tell you, ever since this happened with Microsoft, I'm just going to sit back and wait, man. Because here's the thing, if I had nothing to play, maybe I wouldn't sit back and wait. If I had nothing to play, but I know that by the time Hellblade comes out, I'm likely still going to be playing Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade, if not just Stellar Blade, right? Maybe even still playing Final Fantasy VII. And it's just like I'm not going to be in some kind of rush. There's going to be no reason for me to leave my PlayStation as I'm playing it. And it just becomes that much easier for me to say, you know what? Maybe I'll just wait and see. We have PlayStation Pete here. He says, MBG, is Rise of the Ronin worth $70 if you weren't a content creator? I think so. Yeah. If I wasn't a content creator, I'd still feel like it was worth 70. Like based off of what I played so far, it's a pretty big open world with a lot of content. And I don't know how far I am in the story. I feel like I'm still pretty early in the story. And I have about 14 or 15 hours in the game already. I'm just saying there's nothing in this game that most $70 games don't also have. That's all I'm saying. Like, I see people saying like it should be 50 or it should be 40 or something. I'm like, I don't know why people think that. Look, don't confuse that though. I'm not saying it'll be worth it for you. You have to take a good hard look at the game and decide for yourself if it's something you're interested in. I'm just saying for me, I paid $70 for it, and I can say if I was not a content creator, like if I was not going to talk about Rise of the Ronin on my channel at all, I would still be enjoying it just as much, and I would still be feeling like, yeah, I do not regret buying this game. I paid $70 before for games that I stopped playing that I'm like, I'm just not into this. And this is not one of those games for me. I mean, I see people saying that Ghost of Tsushima was $60. Yeah, but I double dipped on Ghost of Tsushima, dude. I paid $60 for the PS4 physical version, and then I paid $70 for the physical director's cut version as well. So I am a bit of an outlier there. Invest in a sippy cup. I can't use straws right now. I do like these cups though. Oh my god, he wants more snacks. Boss, bro. We're gonna hold on. Torture. There you go, man. It's almost all of them. Guys, that's like 75 memberships worth of snacks. You're going to have to pick up the pace here a bit, all right? Oh, all right. Feed the beast. I'm feeding him, bro. KaneZ7 with another super chat here says, what about Sony's California censoring Japanese games and the games releasing normally on Switch? Yeah, well, I don't think they've done that in a while. But when that happened, I talked about that. Yeah, and I was like, Sony, what the fuck are you doing? The one that always stands out to me is Devil May Cry. Do you guys remember that? Like how in Devil May Cry 5, there was just a scene where one of the female characters was being carried, and like they turned and you could like see her ass. And they were like, we need to put like a lens flare on that ass so nobody can see it. And it was like, who the fuck made that decision? and fire them. If not fire them, just tell them to please shut up. Because that's so, like, that is so stupid. Yeah, I'm definitely, look, I'm not pro censorship. Not. I think that there's some things that people can definitely take a bit too far. And I don't necessarily know that it's my place to say that it should or shouldn't be censored. But when I see shit that absolutely should not be censored to any extent, like it just comes off as weird to me. Like, what is the big deal with just, I don't get it. Like, it just makes me wonder, like, who are the people in charge of this shit? Like, what are they, like 5? They got like 5-year-olds running this shit? Like, grow up, All right. Oh, is that true? You're saying that was a mistake on Capcom's part because they didn't have it in the description for the rating? Oh, okay. That actually changes it quite a bit. That gives me reassurance, though, if that's true, because that means that Sony had no choice based off of the ratings. Like, they had, like, basically Sony was literally covering their own ass there until it was fixed, I guess. Okay. Yeah, because, like, something like that is so minuscule. It's like, it is hard to believe. Like, why would you do that? Also, one other thing I want to say with the censorship stuff is, like, I'll never quite understand why video game, like, violence, I mean, just grotesque violence, is just like, oh yeah, that's totally fine, no problems, right? No problem. Like, I mean, you're talking like people getting their heads like blown off and shit, and limbs flying, and just go play The Last of Us Part 2 and take a shotgun to somebody's face and then take a good look at their face after, and it's just like, no problems here. Which is, yeah, like, that's how it should be. But, like, with other stuff, like with, like, more sexual stuff, it's like everybody gets fucking all insane about it. Saying, is the audio echoing? Guys, are you having any audio problems? Boss, if there's any audio problems, Boss definitely fucked something up. No, you're good. Okay. Yeah, it might be on your end. I don't know. I actually just said your name perfectly. Everybody's saying the audio is good. Okay. You can show a body blow up, but not a nipple. Yeah, right? Like, weird. It's so weird. The camera just shook. That's Boss. Yep, that's Boss. Are you satisfied now? I gave you like 3 batches of snacks. Are you satisfied? We have Zagatka, member for 10 months, saying, thanks for the streams, even though you're not 100% lately, just moved. WA to MT. What is that? Washington to what is MT? What is MT? I feel like I should know this. Montana. Okay. Montana. That's interesting. Montana. How is it there? Yeah, I feel like I should have known that. I'm not too good with my I'm not too good with my own country and knowing where shit is. How is Montana though? Is it peaceful? Did I fail geography? I probably did fail geography. It's snowing currently. Okay. Average American. Yeah, I am definitely the average American. No doubt about it. The God of War remaster will probably have a content warning. No, they'll probably just remove that entirely. They'll remove that part of the game entirely. I bet you. I would hope not, right? No, they probably would. Let's be honest. Come on, they probably would. Yeah. But yeah, Zagaki, you're welcome, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the streams. I'm glad you're enjoying the streams, and yeah, I'm trying my best to keep the content flowing, man. And we have Prince G, member for 5 months, saying the channel should be called MBG Mr. Boss Gaming. You know what? You can call it that if you want. It's a, you know, half of this channel is clearly Boss's channel. So, so I have, let me see. I have another write up here from WCCF Tech. Says here, according to GamesIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring, who's proven to be a reliable source of industry news in the past, he's heard from a very prominent publisher and another indie publisher that Xbox Series XS performance is flatlining in Europe. It was already not good last year, and some European retailers are actually dropping selling the Xbox Series X and S together. So, yeah, more context here for people who are questioning, like, you know, the situation with Xbox console sales. Some European retailers are literally just saying, like, we're not selling it anymore. We're not going to bother. Boss, all right, it's over. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I've given you everything, bro. I've given you everything. Mr. Boss Gaming. Clearly. The article continues. It was already not good last year. Some European retailers are dropping the Series X and S altogether, but it's said to be even worse this year. At some point, publishers are beginning to question why they're even bothering to support Xbox. And possibly concerning points, the concerning points don't end there. Per Christopher Dring, he's heard the majority of Xbox exclusives will end up on PS5 at some point, and that less focus is being put on Game Pass, which has largely plateaued in terms of popularity. So, yeah, I mean, again, does this come off as a surprise to anybody? Not me. I don't, dude, I don't know. I don't know how so many people for a while now, they've been putting, and I have been too. It makes sense. I think it makes more sense for somebody like me to do it, but so many people have been putting all this focus on PlayStation and what's going wrong with Sony and what's going wrong with, you know, their financial situation, all that. And I'm like, yeah, there's definitely some concern there. There's definitely some worry, but in the midst of all this, like, this is what's going on with Microsoft. And look, I play on PlayStation. That's my go-to platform. That is the platform I play on at all times. And I feel like hearing that the majority of Xbox games are coming to PS5, it's one of these situations where it's like, man, I didn't think this would actually happen. I have to be honest with you. Like, when I look back, even just a couple of years ago, I would have never guessed that by the time we get to the second half of this generation, Microsoft is going to be one of the biggest gaming publishers in the world that's just going to start putting their games on PlayStation. And we're already there, like literally right now. And it's weird in a way because it's like it's not as big of a deal as I think I would have thought it would have been. But my concern at this point is, well, I don't know that it's as much of a concern as much as it's just I'm wondering what Xbox is going to do about this. That's the question I have. If you're Xbox and you don't really have control over these markets because people are just choosing to buy the PS5 or the Switch or just go to PC over buying an Xbox. And on PC, they're playing on Steam, right? If you're Microsoft right now, you're seeing this. You're seeing your console sales flatline. You're seeing developers start to kind of question their support of your platform. What do you do? What do you do? And that's the thing, is I don't think they can do anything, man. I don't think they can do anything. I think all they can do is just watch the ship slowly sink to the bottom. And by the ship, I'm referring to the actual Xbox console and potentially their platform, but certainly the console. And they have to just basically focus on making as much money as a publisher as they can. And what's really weird about this is I saw conversations about an Xbox handheld, you know, how apparently Microsoft is prototyping Xbox handhelds. And it's like, holy shit, dude. Why? Like, no one is touching your consoles as is. And developers are now beginning to question if they should even develop games for your console or port games or optimize games for your console. You think the answer is to release a handheld? And apparently this handheld would run games natively. I don't think that's the answer. In fact, I think that's likely to make the situation even worse. You're saying MBG abandoned the ship years ago. He saw the signs. We all did. Yeah, and to be honest, like, dude, I have been questioning for some time, like, what people are talking about, where I see so many people talking shit on PlayStation and Sony, and I get it. Like, there are definitely some things that are cause for concern with PlayStation, and I've been talking about them. I've been doing dedicated streams. You guys know, like, there are some people saying, like, bro, you're being too doom and gloom. Trust me, I've not avoided talking about some of these more concerning situations or circumstances with PlayStation. But one of the things that I've always pushed back against, and I'll just bring it up as a reminder once again, is we went into this year and people were trying so hard to convince everybody that PlayStation doesn't have games. PlayStation doesn't have any games worth playing. It's dry. You know, Sony's fucking up. And yet here we are. It's about to be April. How many exclusive games has Sony dropped? How many console exclusive games have they dropped this year so far? And how many has Xbox had? Nothing has changed, dude. This is what like this is the whole thing about it, is pretty much nothing has changed. Except actually, well, no, something did change, except now we're getting Xbox games on PlayStation. And this is why I just don't quite understand a lot of what I'm seeing, where it's like, it's over, man. Like, it is over. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just, it is. Saying Rise of the Ronin is number 5 in the USA for best selling. Are you sure? I feel like it's a little early to be getting that data. Even when Sony gives us a remake or remaster, we still at least have a game where Xbox has nothing worth your time. And yeah, that's another thing, man, is people are obsessive over some remakes and remasters, but they ignore everything else. They ignore everything else. Fuck Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin is shit. Doesn't mean anything. You sure? Because I don't know. I've been waiting for Rise of the Ronin on PS5. I bought it. I'm playing it, and it's really good, and I'm having fun. So, no. But no, MBG, you should be mad that Sony keeps making remakes and remasters. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is the way people on the internet work, where it's like, we're going to ignore anything worthwhile anything different, anything new, anything fresh, or we're going to downplay it and we're going to highlight these things that are negatives to a certain extent, but we're going to make it seem like they're the only things. So that way, we can just ignore the fucking catastrophe that's happening on the other side, which is on the side of Microsoft, because it is catastrophic. Again, it's not going to end the Xbox brand, certainly not, but it's catastrophic. Like, could you just imagine if this was happening to Sony right now? Like, could you imagine if developers were basically saying, like, yeah, we don't even know if it's worth porting our game to PS5? It'd be fucking catastrophic, dude. I would literally be sitting here thinking, like, oh, man, I might have to sell my PS5 and go to PC. Or somewhere else. Because that's unacceptable. Cypherpunker said, dude, when are you ever going to stop talking about Xbox? LOL, who cares about them? I mean, to be fair, tomorrow we are going to have a conversation all about PlayStation. That's not going to, it's not going to be a great conversation. I don't know that it's going to be as bad as this one, but to me, this is a topic worth discussing because it's something that is going to change the landscape. It is changing the landscape, dude. I'm not talking about it for any reason other than when I was like, okay, what is there? What's a big news topic that came out in the last 24 hours that would make sense to talk about on my channel? This was the number one. And the other topic that I'm referring to about the PS5 Pro, I actually didn't come across that until after I already set this one up. I was actually kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this is actually coming from the same source. Interesting. But James Poe says you talk more about Xbox and PlayStation. I just have to seriously question, do you watch my content or are you just here today making that statement? Because there are people here that tune in every day and they will tell you that statement is as false as it gets. Go watch my last 4 fucking streams and tell me how much I talk about Xbox. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying, man, come on. Come on. It's like if I did a topic on it was like when I did the topic on Dragon's Dogma. It'd be like the equivalent of you'd be like, you talk about Dragon's Dogma too much, bro. What are you talking about? Or I talked about Bungie recently. You talk about Bungie too much. Prior to that stream I did about Bungie on Sunday, I didn't talk about them for a while. He doubles down, guys. James Poe is doubling down. He says, every day. Every day. All right, well, there you go. I agree with that, Joshua. Joshua says, MBG, you just simply talk too much. I agree with that. I talk way too much. I'm shocked at how much I talk, dude. But that's what I do here. I do lift sometimes, though. So, I kind of break it up a little bit. People are never happy. I mean, again, I think it's just a general feeling right now. Look, I think we can all agree on one thing. The gaming industry is not great right now. I think we can all find that common ground where it's not horrible everywhere, but in general, it just feels like the gaming industry took a bit of a downturn in the last 4 to 5 months. And I think we're all kind of waiting for it to recover and to bounce back and to stabilize and get back to, if not normal, just get back to something a little bit more interesting and better than this. Because I agree, man. Look, to me, this isn't the most exciting topic in the world. It's not. It's the relevant topic of the day. But to me, it's further confirmation of what I already knew last month. And I don't mind rehashing it. I don't mind bringing it up again. And I do think we are learning, to me, again, just to highlight to you guys, what is the key takeaway today? Is it that Xbox sales are flatlining? No. I mean, it's an important takeaway, but I think we've all known that. You know? Is it that the majority of Xbox titles are eventually coming to PS5? Yeah, I think that's pretty relevant, especially to a lot of you guys, because most of you guys, I think, primarily play on PlayStation. So yeah, I think that's absolutely relevant, but also something we probably, again, like we kind of knew. Phil kind of said this, like, we'll see. We're not saying no. We're not saying yes, but we all know it's kind of yes, The real takeaway today is that Christopher Dring on the ground at GDC, major publishers, indie publishers, major developers, indie developers, the conversation brewing is, why are we bothering with Xbox? That, to me, is the takeaway from this. And I'm not here to tell you, lock it in, it's over. I personally think it is. I'm not going to tell you to say that or to believe that or to agree with me. I think it's very clear that the Xbox console and the platform as well, it's like this is just going to die a slow death in the next 5 to 6 years. I don't see how they could avoid that happening. They could keep it alive if they want, but just maybe make no money on it or very little money. But I think it's just going to be a slow, painful death. And it's up to you if you want to believe what Christopher Dring is saying here, but I absolutely do believe him. Not because I want to believe I've bad faith towards Xbox. It's just, no, dude, they're Microsoft is initiating this, man. That's it. That's all I'm trying to convey to people, is that when Microsoft had that quote unquote business update last month, I don't think people really understood what they were watching and what was going on. And I think that there were too many people during that time. They were too focused on dunking on others and saying, "Ha, see, you're wrong. Xbox isn't dead." And it's like, guys, I don't think a lot of you fully understand what was just communicated. Xbox as you knew it is over and done. And they will technically oh yeah, we'll have another console. You think it's going to be the same? You think it's going to you think that console is going to have the same exact type of support that the 360 had, that even the Xbox One had, that maybe even the Series X is having right now? Probably not. Probably not. And I just think people are like, oh, well, hey, he didn't say Indiana Jones. He didn't say Starfield. And that's all that matters. Yeah, that's all that matters today. Or maybe yesterday. That's all that mattered yesterday. Tomorrow, you're going to be having to ask yourself, but is Starfield not coming to PlayStation? And anybody who sits here and says, probably, yeah, they're not port begging. They understand what Microsoft is doing. They see clearly what they're doing. And again, I just think that the friction that some people are creating needlessly, it's best to just drop it now. Because if you don't drop it now, you're going to have to later, and it's going to be more painful later. It's going to be not more painful, but it's going to be more difficult to do so later. You just got to see it for what it is. That's all. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You're saying Xbox isn't dead. It's just the box is being phased out slowly as Microsoft becomes a publisher. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. I'm being a bit, putting a bit of an exaggeration the way I'm talking about it. But yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Steranko, you're saying, I think they want to go third party, but save face. Exactly. Yeah, that's even better. That's an even better way, I think, to put it, where that's exactly, see, Steranko, you get it. That is exactly what Microsoft did, is they essentially announced we're going third party, but they do want to save face. And, I think it's, people, I think, have it in their mind that Microsoft isn't going to let go of Halo. They're not going to let go of Gears. They wouldn't do that yet. That's too important to Xbox. Like, no, it's not. Like, do you think that these games are making them money right now? Like, dude, we are 2 mainline Halo games deep since the 360, right? Halo 5 and Infinite. And Infinite, if I'm not mistaken, I think Infinite did even worse than 5. And 5 definitely didn't live up to expectations. Like, this is like what I'm trying to tell. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, Microsoft has nothing to hold on to here. They have nothing to hold on to. And that's why I put in my thumbnail, I said they have no choice, because that, like, in conclusion, that's what this boils down to, is they have no choice. They have no choice. And I just think it's weird that there are some people that still want to believe or convince themselves that they do have a choice. They do not. I understand that some people purchased an Xbox and are like, well, I did my part, and I'm glad you did, but what's Europe doing? Europe is literally saying, we don't even want to sell this shit. And developers and publishers, they don't really care. You know why they don't care if a person bought an Xbox? They don't care about the pleas of like Xbox players saying, please bring your game to Xbox, because you're talking about the same fan base that every new fucking game release, but is it on Game Pass? And Microsoft tried to convince them and everybody else that, hey, Game Pass is great. Don't worry. Devs love Game Pass. No, they don't. They never did. They love the money that Microsoft is giving them to put their game onto Game Pass. They don't love Game Pass. Microsoft tried to sell this pipe dream, and the fan base ate it up, man. And I think it's just it's totally backfiring on them. That part to me is a bit frustrating, because I feel like for a long time I tried to let people know, like, dude, don't let Microsoft pull the wool over your eyes. When Microsoft says this is good for the industry and this is good for developers, what they're really saying is this is good for us. So we want it to be good for them. But we're not really going to tell you if it is or not. Same thing with Sony. Sony does it too, man. But I've always tried to tell people, like, Sony doesn't seem to fucking, Sony doesn't seem to really try to hide the fact that, like, yeah, we need more money. We want more money. Please give us more money. It could be annoying as fuck sometimes, but they don't really hide that fact. You know what I mean? Let me read these super chats in just a second. You're saying there's a Polygon article on Xbox. Are you talking about the one that says Phil Spencer on what the hell is happening in the games industry? Is that the one you're referencing? I need to close some of these tabs. I think it's making my camera freeze up a bit. We have Kane Z7 with another super chat saying, what do you think about what Xbox said about the next Xbox iteration going to be the most advanced console ever? I think they're just grasping for straws, man. Or not even that. I think they're just hanging on for dear life. You're talking about the same people that are shitting all over the PlayStation 5 Pro, which will be the most powerful console ever made, which you would think for a fan base that was sold on power, that ate the power narrative up, you would think they would be excited for that, but they're not, because it doesn't have the Xbox logo on it. So they don't give a shit about the power factor of the PS5 Pro. Instead, they're actually against it. Suddenly, what's the point? Who cares? If it's not going to run GTA 6 at 60 FPS, who the fuck cares about the PS5 Pro? It means nothing. But they'll sit here and they'll talk about a next generation Xbox and get excited about it, when they should be questioning, dude, is literally anybody going to buy that shit? Because I'll tell you, it will not matter. By the time this next iteration of the Xbox comes out, could be the most advanced piece of technology ever created in the console space. It will not matter. if Microsoft can't save this ship or stop it from sinking, because it's fucking sinking rapidly. It's not going to matter, dude. And I think that there are just people that, again, man, you're talking about people on the internet that they're struggling with the reality that they are going to have to transition from being a personality or having a persona or having some type of reputation, whatever it might be, or having some type of audience they built based off of a brand that was a platform, that it was like a platform first, not only with a console, but with exclusives, with mascots, with, exclusive this and, competition and the whole thing. And now they're realizing that they're going to have to transition into being fans of a third-party publisher. And that's not what they signed up for. Like that's not what they sold. That's not what they were sold on. Like they didn't get excited to cover and talk about the Xbox brand or base their posts and their content around it. They didn't get excited because they were a third-party publisher. They did it again because they were a platform holder and because of competition reasons and exclusivity. And Microsoft is saying, like, yeah, we're kind of done with all that. But you know what? Again, these are the same people that were hyping up Call of Duty being owned by Microsoft. So they should have no problem. They didn't give a flying fuck about Call of Duty until the moment they found out, well, Microsoft owns that shit? Oh, yeah, hell yeah. I'm a Call of Duty fan now, baby. Okay, I bet you are. But that won't save them. Because it's just, the reality is, when people say that if Xbox does eventually go full third party, they're going to lose their identity, that is true. It's okay, ultimately, for Microsoft as a whole, as a company, as a publisher. It's fine for them. But they will. Master Chief will not be Xbox in the way that it was during the 360 era, during the original creation for the original Xbox. It won't even be the same as it was for the Xbox One and the Series X. It'll be different. It'll still be Master Chief. It'll still be Halo. And yes, it'll still be Xbox. But even the name Xbox doesn't really make sense anymore. That's why I'm telling you, if there's any one single reason why Microsoft will never stop making a console, it's because the name of the brand is fucking Xbox, dude. How do you keep the name Xbox without making a console, without making a box? You can't. Same thing with Sony, man. Like PlayStation. I mean, I guess it's a little bit different. I guess station, doesn't have to necessarily equate to a box, but that's what people think of. And it would be like, if it would be like one day if Sony was like, yeah, please come play on PlayStation, but we don't make our own box anymore. Like, what? That's weird. I don't know. It's just the way it goes, man. All right, we got Shattered Glass 23 saying there will be no next Xbox console, guys. Not in the way that you think. And that's a big if there's another one at all. They are done. I mean, Shattered Glass, I don't know. I'll put it to you this way. Like, could the next Xbox console get canceled? Yeah, it could. But I think there's a 99% chance it will not get canceled. I think what we could see is like a PSVR 2 situation, but for Xbox, essentially, where I think no matter what, Microsoft is going to commit to it and they're going to release it, and it will be expensive and it will be advanced, but it's just going to be like, it's just not going to do anything. And they're not going to like announce that they're done with it or anything, but it's just like, they're not really going to talk about it that much either. It's just there if you want it. I think that could be what happens. But could it get canceled? I mean, I think something very extreme would have to happen for it to get canceled. I think you would have to, like, we would have to see excuse me. I think we'd have to see like multiple AAA publishers say we're not developing our games for the Xbox console anymore. I think I swallowed some of Boss's hair. Oh God. Even when he's just chilling over there, he's fucking with me. But Shattered Glass, I appreciate the super chat, man. We also have JD Gamer with a $20 super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. You're saying, I think we have to stop jumping to those salacious, like the word salacious, JD Gamer. I have not. I think that might be the first time I've ever seen somebody use the word salacious in a super chat or in my chat in general. Just want to shout out the word salacious right now. Let's try this again, though. You're saying, I think we have to stop jumping to those salacious negative Xbox headlines. We see how that all worked out with the Starfield and indie madness. Additionally, console sales is no longer the major metric of platform success. And I'll read your follow-up super chat here. And you say, by the way, Microsoft will never let Xbox not make its own hardware. Satya regrets canceling the Windows Phone because now they don't have their own store and it would have been cheaper to keep that platform alive. That I will say, JD Gamer, that does seem to be true as well with the Windows Phone. And that could, in a way, Windows Phone, the way it may play out is Windows Phone had to die in order for Xbox to live in the end, in the way that we think, like with its own hardware. Because, that is the biggest thing about, almost said Sony, Microsoft choosing to like say we're not making a console anymore. Like, look, you cannot convince me. I know you're saying that console sales is no longer the major metric for platform success. I agree that it's getting somewhat away from that, but I also disagree in that that's where the money's made, though. You know? I mean, of course, money's made on PC, but developers make a fuck ton of money, and like the bulk of their money through like full price game sales on these console platforms. And so I do think I think what a better way to put it is, you're saying it's no longer the major metric of platform success. I think it's no longer the only metric for platform success. I think that's maybe a better way to put it, or way I would put it, because it's like, it still definitely matters a lot. And the proof of that is from Microsoft themselves, where if it didn't matter that much, or if it wasn't the major, if it wasn't a very important, indicator of platform success, then we wouldn't see them porting their games over to PlayStation and Switch. They're doing that because they think there's a good chance to make good money there. So I think it's not the only one, but I still think it's critically important. But what you say here about, Windows Phone, you're saying Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, regrets canceling Windows Phone because now they don't really have their own storefront, and they have to, they had to bend the knee essentially to eat. Because the whole thing is, the reason why Windows Phone died is because the market share was critically low. I mean, you're talking like less than 1% market share. So you like can't blame Microsoft in that moment where it's like, why did they stop making Windows Phone? Dude, they had less than 1% market share. And because of that less than 1% market share, they had like no support. It was essentially, Microsoft would have had to decide themselves, like, we're going to keep this thing alive on our own for the very and it's going to be just for the very small group of people that still want it, and that's a very, very small group of people. But like you're saying, and I'll trust you on this because it does make sense. You're saying Satya expresses some type of regret killing that off because maybe it would have been worth it, at least just to have your own storefront, even if it's just for a very, very small group of people. I do think that when you look at that and then you look at Xbox, I do agree. I think that, again, it's hard not to jump to the conclusion that if Xbox sales are flatlining in certain regions and they're losing even more market share, then clearly they're going to stop making it. But when I think about it more, probably not. Like, unless they do drop to like 2 or 1% market share, they probably will stick around. But I think it's going to hurt them, though. I do. Like, I think that the longer they try to hold on to it, if they're struggling to actually move the needle at all, again, it's the shareholders' game. You know, like, they're going to start to pressure Microsoft and be like, "What the fuck are you doing here? You know, like, what are you doing? This isn't working." So it could create friction in that sense. And just to acknowledge what you said at the top here, saying you think we have to stop jumping to those salacious negative headlines, like we saw, like the madness we saw in February with Starfield and Indiana Jones. I mean, I guess it depends, I guess, on the angle you're taking here, right? Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe people are perceiving me as jumping on it, but I don't know. Am I being overly negative? People tell me I'm overly negative with everything, even with PlayStation these days. I just can't help but be honest in saying this is what I see, man. Like, I see the headlines, I read the context, and I see who this is coming from, where they're getting their information from, and I'm like, it all tracks. Nothing about this sounds unbelievable. But I will say, like, we are at a point where it is, I think, wise for everybody that no matter what, we do always have to kind of take a step back and realize that until something's officially announced, you know, like, we always have to just keep in mind that it's hearsay. It could very well be 100% true, but things can change. They can change. Like, for all we know, dude, looking back at last month, Microsoft was ready to announce the whole slate. But they saw the leaks and they were like, holy shit. Like, okay, not yet. Not like that. You know what I mean? That could have been what happened. And JD Gamer, I'll finish up here because I'll just basically look at this as one giant super chat. You say the PS3 outsold the Xbox 360, but the Xbox 360 made way more money because of attachment and engagement, which were just starting to be measured at the time. Xbox engagement has been higher in any area. Well, you're not wrong, JD Gamer. You're saying that engagement is basically the most important metric of success for these platform holders. I agree, but I will also say, and I think you kind of proved this with what you said here, the Xbox 360, right? The Xbox 360, it did make way more money because of the attachment and the engagement. But what drove the attachment and the engagement? The sales, right? The sales of that console. So basically, the more people that buy the console, the more likely the attach rate will be higher. Just due to the sheer fact that we have more customers who bought this machine, therefore it's more likely more of these customers, or at least a portion of those customers, will be high attachment customers and highly engaged customers. The lower the sales, the less likely the attachment will be high or higher. The less likely it will be engaged now, or the engagement will be higher. Now, you're saying for Xbox it's been higher. That is true, but I would also argue that Xbox has also been expanding beyond the console. But one of the ways that they've been expanding is they have been more open, right? Like, I don't know. I didn't look into it. Like, I don't know if you're going to have to log in with a Microsoft account or something for Sea of Thieves or anything like that. But, like, is that going to count as engagement for them? I'm sure it will. But I get what you're saying. And honestly, but that's the whole thing, though, here, right? Is like, what you're basically saying is that engagement is the most important thing to Microsoft. Well, then it makes all the more sense that they would just lean more so into becoming a third-party publisher, because that's what's going to lead to even more engagement. But I do think at the same time, though, as you stated here yourself, the Windows Phone, maybe Microsoft CEO regrets getting rid of it because they wanted to have their own storefront and their own platform. I did say previously that I think Microsoft is going to try to have the best of both worlds. I think one world is going to suffer, though. I think that they can do that. I think Microsoft has the resource, the manpower, and the money, to be able to do that, where we want to have our cake and eat it too. We want to be a third-party publisher, one of the biggest in the world, and we want to make all that money. And we want all that engagement, right, for all our games. And they could do that, and they are doing that. But we also want to have our own console. We want to have our own storefront. We want to have our own platform. And we want that too. But I do think, again, one's going to have to suffer here. And I think it's obvious that I think it's obvious Microsoft's going to have to settle. And that's the question, I guess, at the end of the day. I think that's what this boils down to is Microsoft willing to settle for being one of the biggest publishers in the world, making a fuck ton of money publishing games everywhere, not having exclusives, not having a real true reason for people to go buy their own console or, engage with their storefront. Are they going to be okay with that? Knowing that your console sales are going to do really poorly, probably worse than they ever have. Your not engagement, but like engagement on your own storefront is significantly less than the other storefronts. Like, how's it going to look if Xbox published games are selling better on PlayStation and Nintendo than they are on Xbox? Will Microsoft be okay with that? My answer to that is I think they will be. That's why I said earlier in this conversation, like, I keep saying I don't know that it's such a bad thing. It's not doom and gloom for Microsoft, man. Like, Microsoft is covered. That's why they bought Activision and Bethesda. They're covered. They're fine. But it is doom and gloom for, honestly, like, I think the more hardcore fan base that, again, they bought into Xbox for different reasons. They didn't buy into Xbox. Like, let's just face it. Let's just call it what it is. They bought into it because of exclusives, because of games that you can get on the Microsoft Xbox platform that they can't get. And that's normal. I think that's very normal. That is the purpose of those games. That's why they were made exclusive. And now they're just basically being told, and they're going to have to accept that no more, though. Like, at least in the coming years, like, that's going to go. And are you going to be okay with that? Because Microsoft is out here saying we're okay with that. And I think that that's just where, the point is, man, the console wars are over. They are. I mean, if they live on, they'll live on with Nintendo and PlayStation, I guess. But that wasn't actually the whole point, but at this point, I feel like I'm just going in circles. JD Gamer, I'll read the rest of your super chats in a moment. I want to make sure I read the other ones that are coming in from other individuals here. We have Kiri86 saying, so get rid of the name Xbox. Even as of now, Phil is no longer the head of Xbox. He's the head of Microsoft Gaming, featuring Xbox. That's actually pretty funny and true. You're right. You're right. Phil Spencer is the head of gaming, of Microsoft Gaming. Here's what I think that happens. And Kiri, I think you were speaking more to when I said earlier, like, how could you keep the name Xbox if you don't actually make a box anymore? I think that is exactly what would happen. If the day comes, even if it's like 2 generations from now, if the day does come where Microsoft is like, we're no longer making Xbox hardware, like a console, I could see them saying we're going to retire the Xbox name and it's going to be called Microsoft Gaming now. There were even rumors that, there were like rumblings that they're already getting ready to do that, and clearly they're not. But yeah, that is pretty funny to think. Phil Spencer's position is actually the head of Microsoft, not Xbox. Oh man, dude. Boss must be shedding because the weather's getting warmer, because I feel like he's got all this, I got all this cat hair around. It's like everywhere, man. So, Kiri, thank you for the super chat, buddy. We also have Shattered Glass 23 saying Nintendo and Sony will make them change Xbox to Microsoft games once they stop selling consoles. They don't want an Xbox logo promo on their systems. It's interesting you say that, Shattered Glass. I did see some people talking about that last month, where they were basically saying like maybe Microsoft views it as every time somebody boots up a Microsoft developed game, there's an Xbox splash screen. There's a Microsoft Games or an Xbox Game Studio splash screen, and it's just kind of like, again, it is like they're marketing the brand, the platform, the console, the games, everything about it right through their competitor system. I don't agree with you though, Shattered Glass. Like, I don't think Sony cares. I don't think Nintendo cares either. Because if I'm not mistaken, we already see that, right? Like, if you boot up Minecraft, doesn't it have a splash screen that says Xbox Game Studios? Am I wrong about that? Microsoft Surface line is failing too, just like Zune died. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised. I didn't know that Microsoft still made Surface products. Like, I'm surprised, but not. Like, I don't recall hearing that they were done, but I feel like I haven't seen anybody talk about Surface. I haven't seen anybody talk about Surface in a long time. But I guess they still support it, right? Oh yeah, by the way, guys, do me a favor as we continue this conversation, hit that like button for me. We're sitting at 242 likes. We can crush 250 likes, no problem. We can crush 250 likes. Let's see if we can get to 275. I want everybody to contribute now. If you enjoy the streams, if you enjoy the conversation, if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button. It's the easiest way for you to help out, even if it's the only thing you can do for me. You're not going to need an account to play any of their games? Or no, you're saying, Jay Shock, I'm a little confused. You're saying you are not. You also need an account to play any of their games. So it sounds like you do need an account. We have Kane Z7, 20th time super chatting, buddy. Thank you for that. You're saying here, the only engagement Xbot is receiving is bad engagement. Xbot only made money in the US. People here in SA or even Europe don't buy Xbots. Well, I mean, that's the thing, man, is I do think that Microsoft is seeing probably good enough engagement, but there's no denying that engagement on PlayStation is higher, right? Like, engagement on these other platforms and these other consoles is higher. And that's a problem for Microsoft, because something that, and that's why I'm saying it, just the idea of Microsoft settling doesn't add up to me, because Microsoft, they don't really settle. Like, they go big or they go home. Like, they either want it all, they want to be number one, and if they can't, they just concede and they say, all right, on to something else. And that's why I think this situation with Xbox is weird, because I feel like I've seen this many times before from Xbox. Like, I see the signs. But maybe it could be different. I mean, gaming is a different beast, I would say. And maybe it could be different, but we've seen Microsoft under Satya Nadella, and I don't know, man. I'm not 100% convinced. If I had to place my bets, though, I do think we'll still see Xbox hardware, and I think that I think Xbox will be overall happy with their engagement, even if it turns out that most of that engagement is coming from other platforms. I think they will be happy with that. In fact, they have to be happy with that because, like, when they purchase Activision Blizzard, they see here's how much engagement Call of Duty gets on PlayStation. They saw how panicked Sony was, thinking, "Oh shit, are we going to lose Call of Duty?" Because Sony knows how much engagement Call of Duty gets on that platform. So I think I think it's just a matter of you can try to have your cake and eat it too. It's not going to happen. So you have to trade one for the other here. And I just think it's like Microsoft, I think, traded in, because just remember how the fan base was acting last month. The fan base was acting like they were betrayed, like they were thrown into the fire, and there's a reason for that. Was it an overreaction? Yes, but it was a reaction nonetheless. And you have to ask yourself, why was that reaction the way it was? It was because that's what they felt like, because they knew what was happening, that Microsoft was essentially trading in, if not trading in, basically saying, look, we tried to keep you guys in the front seat, but we can't anymore. Now you got to get in the back seat. And we're putting third-party sales and engagement in the front seat now. I think that fans kind of felt that at that time. But again, that was under more extreme circumstances where the conversations were, again, around Halo coming to PlayStation, Gears coming to PlayStation, everything coming to PlayStation. Neutral Zone, you're saying it was just a couple of clowns on X, not the fan base. Real players don't care. Yeah, that I do believe to an extent, but I do think that it's the idea of real players. I mean, I think a casual person is even more likely, though, believe it or not. I think a more casual Xbox player, if they were to pick up on the fact that, wait, hold on a second, this game's on PlayStation? Well, maybe I should just get a PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's just the natural, logical step of, and I think that's why Microsoft isn't doing the full slate thing, right? And I think that's why there will still be exclusives, even if they're timed, because it's the biggest threat to Microsoft is themselves, by basically just communicating to everybody, you don't have to be here at all anymore. There's literally no reason to be here anymore. In fact, it makes more sense to go over there to PlayStation. That's what Microsoft has to contend with right now. And that's why I do think that this article, again, I'm not trying to, it's not doom and gloom, but it's I do think the article is important, or the report from Christopher Dring is important, because the more third-party developers question how much they should really be supporting Xbox, the more pressure that's going to put on Xbox to get their games onto other platforms more rapidly. And the more rapidly their games come to other platforms, the more intense, the more clear the message becomes to the Xbox platform buyers and players that you don't actually have to be here. Just a heads up. You can go get your God of Wars and your Marios and your Halos at some point, You can have it all in one place. Because I think that's the thing that truly is going to, again, not to be negative, but it's just the truth. I think the thing that's ultimately going to fuck the Xbox platform is you're not going to see God of War on Xbox. You're not going to see Horizon on Xbox. You're not going to see Mario or Zelda on Xbox. But at this moment in time, there's a very high chance at some point you will see Master Chief and Halo on PlayStation or Switch or both. And I think that is what, like, I don't, like, that right there is, if I'm Microsoft, I don't know how to stop that. I don't know what you do to, like, what do you tell your player base at that point? Just stay here if you only care about our shit, but don't care about everything else? Because to me, that's pretty much the only thing they would be able to say. And that seems to be where they're headed. I don't know. We'll see. But we got a couple more super chats here from JD Gamer. You're saying more Xbox players play MLB than PlayStation fans with a higher install base on PS5. Install base is an old metric which is no longer the best indicator. Expect Microsoft to continue to release games on PlayStation, but not all, and not the core games, even as it has its own console. Expect a Surface-like approach. I do expect a Surface-like approach. But JD Gamer, I'm going to have to ask you, because I don't believe that. I mean, maybe it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I need to know where that's sourced from. You're saying more Xbox players play MLB The Show than PlayStation fans with a higher install base. I just need to know that you're not pulling that out of your ass, man. Because I don't know about that. And also, if that were to be true, is that because of Game Pass? Which, that to me is such a bizarre situation. Let me see. I'm looking it up now. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me where you're getting those metrics from, man. Because I'm not seeing anything pop up. But it is worth noting that MLB The Show is available on Game Pass and not on PlayStation Plus, which is, like, to me, that is the biggest fuck you from Sony. But also, it's like kind of a Chad move if you think about it, where it's like, yeah, go ahead. You can go play it on Game Pass. Go ahead. Or you could just buy it. You just buy our game. You do that on PlayStation. You can buy it. And dude, Sony's like, I don't give a fuck. It's not Sony's decision. I know. MLB The Show is a bit of a unique scenario because Sony had no choice but to relinquish control. The only thing Sony can do is make the game and rake in the money that the game makes that they're owed. If it were up to Sony, this shit, dude, MLB would never see the light of day on Xbox and it would never be on Game Pass. But MLB is like, bro, no. We want all the money. All right, let me see. So, JD Gamer, I'm going to read your last super chat one more time. You're saying, expect Microsoft to continue to release games on PlayStation, but not all of them, and not the core games, even as it has, its own console. Expect a Surface-like approach. Yeah, watch JD Gamer secretly be like Phil Spencer in my chat right now. He's secretly Phil Spencer, and he's like everything he's saying is like, he's like literally telling us what's going to happen. No, but in all seriousness, JD Gamer, I don't believe that, man. Like, you're saying expect Microsoft to continue to release games on PlayStation, but not all and not the core games. I don't believe that. I mean, I wouldn't be like completely shocked if what you're saying turns out to be true, where we don't see Halo on PlayStation, but I just don't. I don't believe it. I think Microsoft is going to let these games go. I'm not saying I expect the next mainline Halo to launch day one on PlayStation 5 or 6. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, I think we're going to get the Master Chief Collection at some point. I think we're going to get some Gears games. And I think that that's going to signal to everybody when that happens. Like, for example, Sea of Thieves is on PlayStation now. It's about to be on PlayStation. That signals, guess what? Rare is a PlayStation developer now. So I don't think Rare's next game is going to launch day one on PlayStation, but what I do know is it will come to PlayStation at some point. Same thing with Tango Game. Like, dude, if Tango Gameworks makes the Evil Within 3, I'll assume at some point that's going to come to PlayStation. That's a game I probably won't wait for, though, because I loved the Evil Within 1 and 2. But I would feel confident in that, you know? And I just, like, to me, I just can't get behind that notion, JD Gamer. That's all. Like, to not expect all games to eventually come, or the core games. Why, though? Like, why? I thought Sea of Thieves was a core game. IP Gaming, you're saying, I don't get notifications when you go live anymore. See, this is pissing me off now. You're like the third or fourth person to tell me that. The amount of people that I see come in my stream that are like, I had no idea you were streaming. Listen, guys. I'm not literally streaming every single day, but I'm streaming most days. And I just need to make it clear. I'm going to have to just start saying it over and over again. 12 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern. That's when I stream, 12 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what time that is for other time zones, but just look up what you need to find out what time that is for you. 12 p.m. Eastern is when I go live. All right. Obviously, turn on notifications so you can be notified when I go live, but just know that YouTube is not the most reliable in the world. They will let you down. They will let me down. 12 p.m. Eastern, okay? Phil Spencer got me shadow banned on YouTube. But JD Gamer, thank you nonetheless, man, for the super chats. I really do appreciate it. And I do appreciate that support, buddy. Kane Z70, you're saying, I like how most people on PlayStation are play Hi-Fi Rush. Or like how more people on PlayStation are playing Hi-Fi Rush. I'm very interested to see how some of these games perform, man. I'm very interested to see how some of them perform because, I mean, there's a very real possibility that these games could perform significantly better on the PlayStation platform or the Nintendo platform than they did on the Xbox platform. And what kind of messages is Microsoft going to get from that? I think it's clear what kind of message they'll get from that. Let me see here. We got Austin Garrett. He says, did you see Xbox wants to get the Epic Games Store on Xbox? Enjoy life, my man. Thanks for having a gaming community for people like me to enjoy. Well, thank you for the support, Austin. And no, I didn't see that. That would be interesting. See, now that is... See, this is where I can tell, like, Microsoft is just doing some... Now, they're just getting ready to go crazy here, man. They are. Now they're saying, yo, let's get the Epic Game Store on Xbox. Let's get different storefronts. Shit, dude. Microsoft is, like, to me, that's a clear sign that they're, like, really willing to just shake everything up, man. Shake everything up. I guess the real question is, would Epic do that? Epic they're trying to be like really progressive in this front as well, right? Would they do that? Have they responded yet? Because this is the first I'm hearing of this. We have Oliver saying here, a member for 11 months, bought the Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition because CD Projekt Red said it's finished now. Witcher 3, best game ever in my opinion. Grew up reading the books. F the Netflix show. It's woke dog shit. Oliver, tell me how you really feel, man. I love how, dude, I love how Oliver just comes in out of nowhere in the middle of this conversation. He's like, listen, I know you guys are talking about Xbox right now and PlayStation and the shit that's going down, but let me just tell you, Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition, Witcher 3 best game ever, Netflix show is woke dog shit. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for letting me know. I hope you enjoy the game, dude. And thank you for your continued support. Piper says, as a consumer, we lose nothing. I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. Listen, this is where you got to be careful. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope because on one hand, it's like, yeah, I guess. But on the other hand, it's like I said earlier, God, if I could speak, if you're an Xbox player and you're reading these reports that this is what developers are saying about the Xbox platform, why are we even bothering? There is something to lose. There absolutely is. Like if you're a consumer on the Xbox platform, if that's your go-to place and you're invested in that ecosystem, that shit should scare you if that's really what the conversation is turning into, because you absolutely have something to lose. And it is the exact thing that honestly any platform holder fears most, which is what if we lose developer support? You know? That I'm telling you, that is where think of this. Just think of this situation, man. Microsoft for the past 3 years or 4 years or however long has been praised up, down, left, right, and center for being the most pro-consumer. They're doing everything to win the consumer over, best deal in gaming, best value in gaming, and right now it feels like Xbox fans are at risk of losing more than anybody else. You're losing any exclusives you may have had, and sure, maybe you can write that off and say, well, who cares? More people get to play the game. I don't need it to just be for me in order to enjoy it. Okay. But what is that going to do for sales of the Xbox console? Probably not going to help them, probably just going to hurt them. What happens then? Overall, developers are going to start to question, should we even make an Xbox version? And before you know it, you find yourself in a position where, can you expect this game to release on your platform? And that, to me, that sucks, dude. That absolutely sucks. I actually feel bad for, Xbox a little bit in this position, because it's like, I can tell you as a PS5 owner where I'm heavily invested in the PlayStation ecosystem. I'm heavily invested in the PS5. If their console sales were sitting at 20 million right now and they were starting to flatline and developers were like, should we even make games for this thing? I'd be freaking out, because I'd be like, you got to be fucking kidding me. There's no way this is actually happening, right? And I would feel like an idiot. I would feel like an idiot, because it's like, why did I invest all this time and money into this ecosystem? And this is where it's headed. And that's why I'm saying, you got to be very careful about the people who preach like that, where it's like, we lose nothing, when it's all about pro-consumerism. Because I'm all about pro-consumerism, but there's a reason why competition exists, why it's important. There's a reason why you need to be able to kind of differentiate things and have things kind of stand on their own and have different options. Because, and this is why PC gamers, I'm not speaking for all of them, but you see a lot of PC gamers online, they kind of laugh at this type of shit, right? We're like, look at that. The Xbox platform is slowly collapsing. Bring more of your games. Come on, bring your games over. Well, PC gamers will take everything. And that's, kind of where PC gamers are like, hey, we get a little bit from PlayStation. We get all from Xbox. I mean, you're not getting anything from Nintendo, but then again, no one's getting anything from Nintendo. And you could see why PC players, they also have a kind of interest in seeing this start to kind of go away, because think about it. If the PlayStation platform shrunk overnight and became irrelevant, and the Xbox platform continues to shrink and does eventually become irrelevant, and then even if Nintendo's own platform eventually shrunk and became irrelevant, where would everything go? Everything would go to PC. But that's the thing, is it's just, that's not what Microsoft wants. That's not what Sony wants. And that's not what Nintendo wants. And all three of these companies that make a lot of games are going to fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. Meanwhile, Steam and Valve and Gabe Newell are just like, whatever. Like, whatever, bro. We'll just do our thing. But I don't know. That's I guess where that's why Valve was so smart, because Valve, Valve, they established themselves on PC pretty much before anybody, or they did it right. They saw PC as a viable platform that's going to probably stick around forever or a very long time, and they were like, we're going to make a gaming storefront, and we're going to grow it. And that's what they did. And they didn't, again, they rely on PC, on Windows PC, but I don't know, it's like, this is why people say, like, yo, what if Valve like made a console, like an actual competing console? I mean, that would be fucking nuts, because they would be able to come out and say, you could play Xbox games and you can play some Sony games on top of everything else that we already offer on Steam. Like, that'd be kind of crazy. And that's kind of what the Steam Deck is right now, if you think about it. But the Steam Deck is a handheld, so it's not a traditional console. Getting a little bit off track here, but it's just, again, man, like, it's just not going to happen that way. These platform holders, they are not going to relinquish and give up their own storefronts and their own platforms unless they have to. And I guess I'm just saying, like, Microsoft is in the most precarious position right now, because Microsoft is the one closest to, like, they might have to. If they haven't already, they might have to. And when I say give it up, I don't mean shut it down. I don't mean light it on fire and let it burn to ashes and say we're done. I just mean, like, if it's past the point of no return, which I speculate that I think it might be, it's just going to shrink more and more and more to where it's like, it's just not a viable competitor. It's an option, but it's not a competitor. And I think what might end up solidifying that is, I mean, I think look at the Wii U. The Wii U, I think, is the most recent example of, man, when shit goes wrong, you're on your own. Like, when you create a console and you create a platform, and that platform is accessible through the console, and that console does not sell, oh, you are fucked. You will be abandoned very quickly by third parties and publishers. Like, they will just say, we're not wasting our time. And Nintendo knew, dude. Nintendo's back was against the wall. And, dude, I remember the conversations like, yo, is Nintendo going to go third party? And they were like, look, we got to go all in with the Switch. And if that doesn't work, if the Switch didn't work, Nintendo probably would be third party. Yes. I guess it's not that recent. I mean, it's a while ago now, but I'd say like the most recent example. Not counting Microsoft. And that's the thing, is like Microsoft, how many units did the Wii U sell? Wii U lifetime sales. Oh my God, that's even worse than I thought. Holy fucking shit, that's bad. 13.5 million lifetime sales for the Wii U. Wow, dude. You know what's so scary about that, dude, is Xbox isn't even that far off, bro. Xbox is like double that, so it's definitely better. Xbox is at like 23 million. 22 or 23 million. Last I think we heard. But you see, like, if their sales are flatlining, dude, we're like, okay, how much further are you gonna go now? Like, you gonna get to 30 million? You gonna get to 40 million? The reality is starting to bear down that they might not get to 35 million, dude. They might not. It seems unlikely they're going to get to 40 million. And don't get me wrong, 40 million would be, I think, good enough, but they're at like in 23 or 24 million right now. Let me double check. Hold on. Okay, my bad. I was a little bit off. I thought something sounded off here. The Series X and S have sold around 27 million units in 38 months. The Xbox One sold 29 million units in 38 months. So it's actually tracking behind the Xbox One. So Xbox One lifetime sales. Let me see. 57 million. That's actually better than I thought. So lifetime sales. Okay, so it looks like the Series X and S. I don't know. I mean, I think it's safe to say the Series X and S are going to sell less than the Xbox One. So I guess the question becomes how much less? Here's my question. If the Series X and S is selling worse than the One, and the One sold pretty poorly, all things considered, what is the next how does the next Xbox sell? Like, I don't think Microsoft will encounter a Wii U situation, because holy shit, dude, I didn't realize the Wii U was at 13 million. Oh my God. That nearly ended Nintendo, bro, as a console manufacturer. But yeah, dude, it's getting scary out here. It's looking spooky for Microsoft. You think when Xbox releases all the older Call of Duty games, they'll sell more? Well, it sounds like Microsoft completely lost Europe, unfortunately. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll continue to monitor it. You're saying, why are they talking about a next-gen console already? We're only like 3 years into this gen. I'm telling you that this is why. Because I think Microsoft's a little bit desperate to keep people interested in their console. And I think they're struggling, dude. Ninja Raiden. Remember for 1 month saying, do you think Kojima saw the writing on the wall when announcing OD for Xbox, knowing it would probably hit PlayStation 2? No, I don't think so. I think OD is going to release on PlayStation, yes, but well, I don't know. Maybe think about it, man. Kojima has a lot of pull, so he could have just straight up said, like, I want to be multiplat. And what leverage would Microsoft have to say, well, here's why you shouldn't? I don't think they have any leverage to say why you shouldn't. I think Sony kind of does, where Sony's like, well, listen, we have a pretty big install base. By the time Death Stranding 2 comes out, there'll be like, I don't know, 65, 68 million PS5s out there, you would assume. And yeah, money, of course. But yeah, this is like being developed with cloud technology. So I imagine Kojima's OD will be multiplat. If it's not, that would be quite surprising. It would be, in my opinion. But I don't think that had much to do with it. I think what sold Kojima on making OD... Did you guys... Were you guys watching that reveal? Like, I think what sold Kojima on OD is Microsoft was like, do whatever you want. We don't care. Just please make a game for us. And he's basically out here like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's awesome. And I don't even know how to describe what this is, but it's going to be awesome. And it's kind of a movie, but it's a game. And yeah, here's Jordan Peele. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm all for it. Let's see what you got cooking. But I don't imagine that this is going to be like a again, man, Blade and OD. Blade and OD, they were not they were still not confirmed to be Xbox exclusives, you know, like so I don't know. We'll find out. Venino, you're saying MBG Sony is basically multiplat as well, and the PlayStation games PC is becoming the definitive way to play them. Eventually, GT7 and PSVR drop on PC too. Well, that's what I'm saying, man. Is that like it's the here's the difference though, Venino, is that well, we'll find out as we go further into this year. It seems like sorry, I got distracted by something in the chat. It seems like the PS5 is still doing just fine. You know, I think it's slowing down a little bit, and I think it makes sense why it's slowing down a little bit. But I think here's what I think is different, dude. I think when you see, like, sure, that is true, Venino. Like MBG, I said MBG. MBG is multiplat. I said MBG because I was reading your super chat again, and you started by saying MBG. PlayStation is basically multi-platform in the sense that, yeah, like they put everything on PC. Here's the interesting one. PlayStation is heading down the same path as Xbox. They'll go day and date with PC eventually. You got okay. All right. If you think so, sure. Again, just a reminder, Horizon Forbidden West was cracked on PC in 30 seconds. I think you're insane if you think Sony is not paying close attention to that and thinking, holy fuck. Dude, I'm telling you, could you imagine if Sony dropped Horizon Forbidden West day and date and they found out it was cracked in 30 seconds? They would pull it from the storefront, dude. They would pull that shit from I guarantee you they would pull it from the storefront and be like, fuck this. I think people want Sony to go day and date. They want that. And I don't blame anybody. Because Sony does put their games on PC down the line and people like them. But I just think people are not really understanding that Sony is not in the same position that Microsoft is. They're not in the same position that Nintendo's in either. Sony is in their own unique position where their console is still selling. Sony still has a good reason to tell people, if you want Ghost of Tsushima, you buy a PS5. And you know why do you know what that reason is? Because people are saying, okay, we'll buy your PS5. Now, again, that's why I emphasize that it seems like PS5 sales are, look, if PS5 sales go off a fucking cliff, if PS5 sales start flatlining come like 2026 or the end of 2025, it's like Sony's in fucking panic mode. Like, okay, what is happening? Nobody's buying PS5s anymore. Like, we look like we're going to struggle to get to 80 million units now. You will see Sony change course, yes. But people, I think, just need to realize that the whole day and date thing, it should be clear by now. The whole PC day and date thing hinges on console performance. If the console is doing well, they're not going to do day and date. They might close the gap. Like, hey, we're releasing this like 9 months after console. Sure, but they're not going to do day and date. As long as they know that their games are convincing people to go buy these consoles and get them in their own storefront, in their own ecosystem, they are not going to go day and date. But as soon as those sales start to drop, if that happens, there could be a myriad of reasons why that could happen. But if people are just suddenly like, I'm not buying a PS5, I'm going to PC, and that happens in the tens of millions, and it's like, we were supposed to be at 75 million units sold now, and they're not going to do that. Like, I'm just saying they're not going to, because there's no reason for them to do that. That's all. There's no reason for them. Sure, would they get more sales on their games and make more money? Yeah, but how many more? Maybe a couple million. Oh, that sounds pretty good. But when you compare that to, but how many of those people would have just potentially bought a PS5 and like basically embraced Sony's own ecosystem? And I think people assume that Sony's very quick to throw that into the fire. And it's like, no, they're not. Because I just want to remind people, dude, Horizon Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima, these are the games that are coming to PC. How many units is Ghost of Tsushima selling in 2024? How many PS4s or PS5s is Ghost of Tsushima, which came out in 2020, how many units is it moving? Probably none. How many units did Ghost of Tsushima move when it was first announced in 2016 or 2017? Probably quite a bit. Or at least it helped build that momentum, right? Same thing with Horizon Forbidden West. How many units did Horizon Forbidden West move when that game was first announced on the PS5 in 2020? A lot. A lot of people, oh, fuck yeah. Horizon Forbidden West on PS5, I'm there. The question is, how many units was Horizon Forbidden West for both PS5 and PS4 moving? How many units was it moving January 2024? How many units did it move, did it sell in February of 2022, in March of 2022, in April of 2022? In all of 20, how many units did Horizon Forbidden West move and sell throughout all of 2022? You know? And I think that people just, they're getting ahead of themselves, and they're not realizing like what Horizon Forbidden West is doing in 2024 is probably almost nothing for Sony. So that's why it makes sense where, okay, let's put it on PC. Because sure, it may get cracked in 30 seconds and it may get pirated, but people will still buy it. And those who are buying it, that is just extra bonus sales and money that we otherwise would have just left on the table. Because the people, and here's another question. How many people who bought Horizon Forbidden West day one on the PS5 or the PS4, then decided afterwards, or maybe decided now that it came to PC that, you know what, I should have just waited for the PC version. I'm just saying, these are things that I think people are just very quick to overlook and not consider when they are like, oh yeah, Sony's going to go day and date. They could. Again, I've never denied that. I've never said that they won't or they couldn't. I'm just saying that the logic isn't there right now. And people point to like a game like Helldivers. Well, look at how well Helldivers did. But it's like, dude, that's a completely different type of game. Like, I don't think Helldivers 2 is comparable to a game like Horizon Forbidden West in any capacity whatsoever. You know? And to me, this is Sony at least attempting to get the best of both worlds. Guess what? Sony dropped Helldivers 2 day and date on PC this year, and they fucking won. They got all the sales on PlayStation and on PC, and nobody cared. And you know what else they did? They dropped Horizon Forbidden West onto PC as well, and they're getting those bonus sales too. So I'm just saying, if you're Sony, like, what's the problem here? The only real problem is the PS5 slowing down? And if it is, how much is it slowing down? And what's the root cause of that? That's the question. And I don't know. I really don't know. All I do know is that Sony themselves said that they're prepared for a slower sales year in fiscal year 2024. And they're expecting not to sell as many units. They also said they don't have any big sequels or major franchises lined up, so that could be the reason. They also said that they don't know how to measure console sales right now because COVID fucked everything up for them. So believe me when I tell you that right now there's just a lot of fog, I guess you could say, around the whole, console sales versus day and date on PC situation. There's a lot of fog around it that I think as we get to as we finish off this generation going into 2025, 2026 and beyond, I think it will become very clear. Or at least it should become a lot clearer than it is now. But, getting back to the original statement here, we're like, isn't Sony basically multiplat? I mean, yeah. I've said before that Xbox is treating PlayStation and Switch the same way Sony treats PC. Where if you're a PC player and you just don't care for console and I game on PC, that's where I choose to play. That's where I prefer to play. That's where I want to play. Yeah, you can sit back and rest assured that eventually, you don't know exactly when, but eventually you will be able to play Sony's games. You will be able to play Spider-Man 2. Could come as soon as next year. Maybe the end of this year. But you will. Could be 3 years. There's no determining factor necessarily. But if you're willing to wait, then you can rest assured you will play Sony's games if you're interested in them. And I think that we're seeing that exact same thing unfold with Xbox and their games. And you see why I said earlier, though, that I think that Xbox fans are going to end up feeling like they are the true losers of the situation, though, because PlayStation fans, I mean, look, are there some games that PC gets that PlayStation doesn't? Yeah, but I don't know that it's really that many that I'm aware of anyway. I mean, it seems like most popular games on PC have a PlayStation port usually, or PlayStation port that does come at some point. PlayStation fans share the same thing that every Xbox and PC fan shares, and that is, well, we know not to expect Nintendo games. That's not happening. But I just think that at the end of the day, we're going to see a scenario where PC players get Xbox games, they get some PlayStation games, but they usually have to wait for them, and there's no telling how long you have to wait for them, and they get no Nintendo games. PlayStation fans get PlayStation games, obviously. They're going to start getting Xbox games. You're going to have to wait for Xbox games, and you have no idea when they're going to come, but they'll come eventually, probably. You're not getting Nintendo games on PlayStation, but Xbox fans, you're not getting anything except just multiplats that want to support the platform and Xbox games. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how the situation for Xbox, frankly, just seems unfair from the consumer standpoint, where it's like, why would you choose that over any of the other options above? It is the most limiting. And that is the problem that I think Microsoft has, because, that's another reason why I don't think Sony's going to relinquish their games day and date on PC. I think Sony sees a huge problem if they're like, you know what, let's drop the next God of War day and date on PC. I think the problem that they see is, shit, man. Do we really want to make PC the go-to place? Just like that? Or do we want to make our platform the go-to place? And that's what I'm saying, dude. Sony, I'm telling you, they're more stubborn. Sony will hold out longer than you think. At least I think so. I think they will. I could be wrong, but I get the sense that Sony's like, no, we want to be the go-to place. Anyway, I'm going on and on here. I need to read the rest of these chats. Thank you, guys. Alex Mercer, the prototype, you're saying, if the Left 4 Dead games are coming to PS5 and Switch, that would be exciting, to be honest. The games are genuinely fun and deserve more recognition on other platforms. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I can't believe we never got a Left 4 Dead 3. That's a tragedy, in my opinion. And yeah, I would love to see the Left 4 Dead games make their way to PlayStation. I love Left 4 Dead. I want it so badly to like Back 4 Blood, because I'm a huge Left 4 Dead fan. But man, Back 4 Blood was just not it. I was so sold on Back 4 Blood, dude. I was like, dude, Back 4 Blood looks fucking incredible. This is it. This is the Left 4 Dead 3 we've been waiting for. It's like, oh, no, it's not. Not even close. JD Gamer with 2 other chats here. Wait, hold on. Devil Shooter, you're saying by PlayStation 6, Sony will be full PC. Devil Shooter, I'm curious. What you've been saying this for a while. What has you so convinced, though? I'm just curious. What has you that convinced that you're so sure? Because I don't know. I'm not convinced, man. I wouldn't care ultimately because it's like, look, man, I'm still going to support PlayStation. I'm still going to buy PlayStation as long as, Sony is supporting it. But I just don't see it as dire as people are making it sound. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is, though. Maybe with Hiroki Totoki as the interim CEO, he's just going to be like, we're doing it. You have no choice. We're doing it. You're saying the PC... This isn't Devil Shooter saying this, but PC player base is way too big to ignore. Well, that's the thing, though, is I don't think Sony's ignoring them. I think Sony's just drawing a line and saying, like, you are valuable to us because you're paying customers, but we don't want to prioritize you over our own platform. And so we'll find like a middle ground where multiplayer games, live service games, yeah, day one, no worries. Single player, you'll have to wait. We don't know how long, but single player games, we're going to prioritize our own platform. MBG, I see Sony change more and more every day. I assume the worst, that's all. Well, that makes sense. That's a good answer. Yeah, you know what? I totally get that, Devil Shooter. I totally understand that mentality where it's like a lot of times I go with what I see, what I think makes the most sense. But yeah, I have found throughout the years of covering Sony and Microsoft and all these platforms that, yeah, dude, you don't fucking, like, I don't know, you don't know. And so to just assume, maybe that would be smarter for me to do, to just assume, yeah, they will go day one PC. It's just hard for me to say that because it's like I just, that would surprise me. I'd be like, damn, dude, like, Sony going day and date on PC, that notion wouldn't surprise me. It would be the way in which they do it. If they were like, we're going to experiment with this game and see what happens, this single player game, we'd be like, okay, yeah, go try it out, see what happens. But if they were just like, if they pulled a Microsoft and they're like, going forward, all of our games day and date, it'd be like, damn, dude, did not see that shit coming. Like I really thought it would have been a slower rollout than that. But sometimes I get tunnel vision. That's absolutely, oh yeah. I'm definitely susceptible to that. No doubt about it. Saying understand that Sony's not getting that much profit from the consoles. Yeah, but at the same time, it's also worth understanding that the profit margins on the consoles are high, not the hardware. Like the profit margins on a console customer is higher than a PC player. That's the difference. You know what I mean? And that to me is that right there is the separating factor. Is that if Sony if they can get you in the door in their ecosystem, they're going to make more money off of you when you're in their domain than if they have to come to you in somebody else's domain. But yeah, the console margins, that could be problematic for Sony in the future. Anyway, I got to read these super chats from JD Gamer. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, man. And thank you again for all the support, buddy. You're saying, expect Microsoft to buy another major publisher and those games to be on Game Pass within a year. This, plus all those new bangers coming, will drive more sales. Xbox's reach is beyond the console sales, a la Game Pass has 34 million subscribers, while there are only 27 million Xbox Series X and S consoles sold. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is interesting to think that Game Pass does have more subscribers than Series X and S console sales. I'm telling you, man, JD Gamer clearly is somebody working inside of Microsoft. He's letting us know. He's letting us know. Microsoft is going to buy another publisher. I believe that 100%, dude. To be honest, I absolutely believe Microsoft will buy another publisher because I've been saying for some time now that that one of the reasons I believe Microsoft is willing to just say, fuck it, we're going to start going, even if it's slowly, multi-platform and put games on our rival on the rival consoles and platforms, is because they definitely want to buy another publisher. And if they can show the regulators, like, see, we're putting our game, like, we are releasing all of our games or most or the majority of our games on rival consoles. We're just a publisher. I think that would be the difference maker in allowing them to actually get over the line. But I don't know. Maybe Microsoft wants to slow down. I think it's, well, JD Gamer, it's also worth noting, like, it's no secret that Microsoft wants Game Pass on PlayStation and Switch. That's no secret. And again, I saw people kind of taking the speculating and basically making it sound like maybe that's the secret angle here. That's the end game of all of this. The end game is essentially finding some way to butter up Sony and Nintendo to just let them let Game Pass on it. Maybe that way of buttering that up, so to speak, is, hey, we're like practically multi-platform now. We're practically a third-party publisher. See all the games we're releasing on your platform? Just let it on. You let Ubisoft Plus and whatever else and EA whatever on, so let Game Pass on. That could be the angle. And that'd be pretty smart. But I'm sure Sony has thought of that. I think Sony would need to be fully convinced. Sony would have to be fully convinced where it's like, yeah, but EA and Ubisoft don't have consoles. So... But JD Gamer, I appreciate all the super chats, man, and we'll see. We'll see if what you're saying turns out to be true or not. We have Piper here with a $5 chat saying there's a third category of people that have both systems like me, so what you're saying makes no sense. Well, yeah, that's true. I don't think what I'm saying makes no sense. I guess I just wasn't really considering that, yeah, there is that third option of, like, yeah, you can own a PlayStation and an Xbox and a Switch, and you can have a gaming PC. You can have all this. But I do think the reason why I wasn't necessarily thinking that is because I think most people don't fall into that category. I think you're right. That category absolutely exists. And those people are winning the most, right? I have everything and I can play anything I want at any time. But it is expensive, I think, for most people. And that's why I think that's why most people don't have all those options. I think most people, when they are thinking about buying any console, they're trying to decide, like, do I want this one or that one? But yeah, you're right. Like, if the ideal situation is, I guess, to have everything at your disposal. I see people in the chat. Neon Skater says, I have all three. Interesting. Alex Mercer says I fall into that category. I'm not surprised, honestly. Like, I imagine quite a few people that are here, probably consider themselves like more hardcore gamers, so to speak. Probably invest more so than the average consumer. Eric says he has all four. We have JD Gamer here with another super chat. Appreciate it, man. You're saying we also have to stop with the narrative that PlayStation games won't be on Xbox because they will, a la MLB, Destiny, and the upcoming Marathon, and maybe more. See, I don't know, JD Gamer, I don't know, man. I think you're pushing the envelope here, bro. I do. I don't like you're saying it's a narrative. I don't think it's a narrative. I mean, I think there's like a negative connotation with the term narrative. Like narrative, I think almost implies like you're writing almost like a fictitious story, something that's just like not true or disingenuous. You're right. MLB The Show is on Xbox, but we all know why that is. We know why that is. It's on Xbox because MLB literally gave Sony an ultimatum. Either we are putting this game literally everywhere it can go, or we're taking the license from you. And Sony makes way too much money from the MLB The Show series. And also, the developers do a great job. So it was a no-brainer for Sony to agree to that. They had no choice but to bend the knee. Now, you mentioned Marathon. Yes, Marathon will be multiplat, but again, another situation where, come on, man. JD Gamer, I know you know this. We all know this. That's not Sony's choice, dude. We know. If Sony had their way, PS5, PC, that's it. But we know for a fact, well, I don't know if it was ever explicitly stated, but come on. We don't have to be rocket scientists or geniuses to figure out that this is what Bungie, these were their terms. Bungie says, we remain independent. You don't get to touch our games. And that's actually ironic because that's something that some people were wondering when we were talking about Bungie recently, is that if Sony did take over, would they change that? I don't think they would personally, because I think it's just, well, you already made the announcement. You're only going to piss people off by reversing it, and you're probably going to get less money from Bungie, you know? So I don't think that would be a wise idea. But here's the thing, dude. Like, JD Gamer, listen, I'll say this to you, JD Gamer. If what you say is true, or if you really believe that, and I know some people do, that more PlayStation games over time are going to start coming to Xbox. You're not stating that directly, but you're very much insinuating that. If you think that, then Helldivers should come to Xbox at some point in the future. We should see that happen. Maybe not like this year, but maybe sometime early next year, we should see the announcement of Helldivers 2 Xbox port incoming. But I'm telling you, you probably won't see that. I'm telling you, man. Like, I just don't think you're going to see that. And that game actually makes sense to put on Xbox. That's the craziest part about it. Is that game, more than any other game Sony has right now, would actually probably sell. If not sell, like, it would at least it would make people happy, you know? It's on PC, it's doing well. It's on PS5, it's doing well. Chances are it'll do decent on Xbox too. But I just don't think you're going to see that, man. Like, I don't think Sony's like, yeah, guys, get working on that Xbox. Maybe. I don't want to say for sure. It would be pretty funny if that happened. But I'm not sure, bro. I'm not sure that Sony's going to do that. JD Gamer says, correction, all these are Sony choices. They didn't have to sign any deal, but they did. They wanted the money, just that simple. They were not forced. Oh, okay, JD Gamer, I don't know, JD Gamer. JD Gamer's he's starting to throw virtual hands with me here a little bit. He's laying it down. He's saying, no, dude. They were not forced. I don't know, man. That doesn't add up to me. Unless I find out JD Gamer's actually some kind of like some kind of legitimate insider here that actually knows I don't know how you say that. Knows what's going on. If I could speak. Maybe he's leaning in. JD Gamer might be leaning into it a little bit. I think he's leaning into it. He's enjoying it. You look. I'll play devil's advocate here. You could be right. I was not there. I was not present for the deal. Maybe Sony did say, "Hey, you know what? No, yeah, you're Bungie. You can be everywhere. We don't care. No big deal. We'd love to see it." You're right. That could have happened. Same thing with MLB. But again, JD Gamer, it's hard for me to embrace that notion, even while I'm trying to play devil's advocate. It just, something doesn't compute my brain, because it's like, if that is true, if that's the Sony you're painting right now doesn't sound like the real Sony, dude. That's the thing. The Sony that you're describing, that does not sound like the real Sony that we know. Because if it was, my question is, where are the other games? But you know what? I'm not going to call it yet. I'm not going to call it yet. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to give some leeway here to JD Gamer and say, maybe you were right, because what if we do see Helldivers on Xbox? What if we do? That changes everything. If we were to see, it's a big what if, and I'm not calling it. I'm just saying, if we were, suddenly this conversation does turn into, oh shit, okay, well, Sony is definitely willing to do things we didn't think they were. Because no one is going to force Sony to put Helldivers on Xbox. Even the CEO of Arrowhead said, that's not our call. That's Sony's. Oh, here we go. Boss, you didn't get enough today? Really? You're coming back again? He's just chilling. All right. Boss needs his fix. Dude, he got 3 fixes today, and we didn't even hit our goal, and he got 3 fixes, bro. Okay? He's good. He's good. I created a monster. I sure did. JD Gamer with another super chat. Well, JD Gamer, I appreciate all the super chats, man. It's very kind of you. You're saying there was a time when PlayStation fans said no PlayStation game would come to PC. Then no PlayStation first-party game would go day and date. Well, what's next? And you're right. Yeah. And that's why I caution everybody. I caution the most diehard PlayStation fans. I'm just telling you, look, I'm only here telling you, here's what I see logically speaking. Logically speaking, it doesn't, like, I don't see where it makes sense for Sony to just come out and decide we're going multiplat. We're going to reciprocate and we're going to put games on Xbox. It maybe does make sense if, like, honestly, it would make... Are you guys seeing this? Did you guys just see that? Was that off camera? Did you see Boss's paw? Hey. He literally was like, no. He put his paw on my hand like, no. Bro, come show people what you just did. Show everybody. He's not going to do it now. Sorry. I just wasn't expecting him to do that. He really doesn't give a fuck about, like, anything I have to say to him. He's like, no. He really does. He lives up to the name on these streams. I will tell you, he acts like a boss. Yeah, it's just straight up stand down, bro. Stop chewing my damn router. Oh my god, that's why I'm getting mad. Why do you chew this shit, bro? You're not, like, he used to chew wires and he doesn't chew wires now. He chews my fucking router. He tries to chew my PlayStation. He tries to chew my mic stand, like, shit. But yeah, JD Gamer, I always try to encourage every PlayStation fan. It's okay to have your own predictions and your own speculations, just like me, right? Just like everybody else. It's fine. All this is fine, but always be prepared that, like, yeah, you're exactly right. I remember that very clear as day, where, like, a lot of PlayStation fans, and to be fair, I was like one of them, where I'm like, Sony's not going to release games on PC. You kidding me? And then it's like, oh, holy shit, they are. And I remember even when it first started, like, it was just Horizon at first, and then Days Gone, and people are like, oh, they're not going to take their big tentpole titles like Uncharted and wait, did Uncharted release on PC? I think it did. Yeah, I think it did. Uncharted, God of War, The Last of Us. They're not. And then it's like, no, they are. And there they are. It's like, oh, so these things can happen rapidly. Yeah. So that's why I don't blame Devil Shooter for being like, yeah, they'll probably go full day and date by PlayStation 6. Because it's like, why not just assume that? Better safe than sorry. Hey, I'm trying to move you over here because you're in my way. Dude, at some point, me and Boss are just going to start fighting on stream. He's going to attack me. He's going to jump on my head. Man, I really lost track of time. All right, so here's where we have a new article here. Phil Spencer on what the hell is happening in the games industry. Buckle up, people. We're not done yet. Probably won't be a members lounge today because this stream is going on a lot longer than I thought it would. But hopefully you guys are cool with that. We've been doing a lot of members lounges lately. But guys, before I read this article, hit that like button for me. We're sitting at over 300 likes, so you guys are showing up today. Really appreciate it. I want everybody collectively to hit that like button. Let's see if we can get up to 325, maybe even 350. That'd be crazy if we could hit 350 because we have like 350 people watching right now. All right, so the math on making a game has definitely changed, said Phil Spencer, CEO of gaming at Microsoft. Polygon spoke with Spencer during the annual Game Developer Conference, and though the conversations range from the possibility of a handheld console to the trouble with closed platforms, one theme was inescapable. What the hell is going on with the games industry, and how will video game makers and publishers, Xbox included, get out of it? Spencer's view points to a collision of rising budgets, diversifying business models, and the exceptional financial risk now required to meet the audience's expectations of a AAA release. He specifically pointed to the astronomical budgets of big budget games, which have created a knot of problems that has been a challenge to disentangle. And for Spencer, the path forward is to abandon assumptions about exclusivity and attract new customers who have cooled on the console experience. So Phil, once again, out here basically saying like, chill on that exclusive talk, bro. Interesting. But first, for context, Phil Spencer talked about how things used to work when budgeting and greenlighting a video game. The Microsoft executive has been producing games for long enough than he can remember when the financials were relatively straightforward. A publisher could set a sales goal, say 800,000 units, set an earn-out goal, how much money that they wanted to make, and set the price of a game, usually $60. From there, a video games publisher and or studio could get a budget. However, the financial calculus has changed. In 2024, most games are sold across multiple storefronts, often steeply discounted mere weeks after release or included as part of a subscription service on launch day. Plus, the games themselves take many years to create with the help of hundreds, if not thousands, of team members, sometimes spread across the world. All of this adds up, and as Spencer says, it can cost $300 million to build a video game. Spencer explained how this cost forces three substantial problems. One for all big game budgets, one unique to console exclusives, and one that spans the entire industry. Interesting. So, number one, the cost really reduces the risk of publishers that publishers are willing to take. Where previous games needed to sell a few 100,000 units to justify their cost, new games may need to sell many millions of units. If you're a publisher, you know that's a pretty big number in a world that already has a lot of video games coming, said Phil Spencer. How are you going to establish this thing? How am I willing to take the red on new IP, on a new kind of game, when the earnout risk is that high? I think it, it says, I think it impinges on the creativity of the industry, which I don't love. Creativity is like the cornerstone of what we should, what does that say? Of what we should be about in gaming. The second thing, This cost is particularly prohibitive for exclusives that can only reach Sony players. As Spencer explained in our conversation about the perils of exclusivity and walled garden consoles, these games need to make additional money to justify the console makers subsidizing the cost of the console. As Spencer explained, the case for exclusivity gets pressured as the cost of a game goes up. According to Phil Spencer, the console market has not grown in the past year. Though Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch consoles continue to sell, Spencer notes that many console gamers are simply upgrading, or, to put it in another way, they're not new to the market and won't contribute to growth. And without new customers, everybody else's customer is your success state, said Spencer. You can't succeed unless you draw in customers from other publishers and other platforms. And because you're not finding new customers with the games that you're building, everybody's kind of fighting over the same size pie. Interesting. See, I find it very interesting that Phil is putting emphasis on not only exclusivity but the console market, because I was just talking to you guys about how I'm very interested to see what happens with PlayStation console sales. Hold on. All right, I think boss needed to go get some water. but yeah, that's interesting. Phil's saying that, console sales haven't grown in the last year, and Sean Layden also said that it seems like the console market isn't growing, and I don't know. I don't recall Sony acknowledging this. I think Sony did acknowledge that sales for the PS5 may have peaked, but I don't think Sony has come out and flat out said that like the console market isn't growing. Maybe they have, but I'm curious, man. Like I'm really curious to see. Like, it's so weird that they're framing it as in like the only way we can continue to do exclusives and justify them is if the console market were to continue to grow. And I'm just very curious, like, is this truly the ceiling? Like, have we truly seen the ceiling for the console market? I don't know that we necessarily had the answer to that, but it continues here. These problems have had a very real, substantial, and immediate human cost. The industry has seen consistent and mounting layoffs, including a particularly rough start to this year. Shortly after Microsoft's acquisition of ABK, the company announced it would be laying off 1,900 workers. Polygon asked Spencer if the ABK layoffs were part of this wider trend, or if there was something unique about the layoffs as they pertain to the current Xbox business. It's a little bit of both, said Phil Spencer, but I'll say the thing that has me most concerned for the industry is the lack of growth. And when you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, you get a lot of publicly traded companies that are in the industry that have to show their investor growth, because why else does anybody own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that then gets scrutinized is the cost side, because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then the cost side becomes challenged. We're a business. I said over and over, I don't get any luxury of not having to run a profitable, growing business inside of Microsoft, and we are that today. But just across the industry, you mentioned it. And in sitting here at GDC, I reflect on friends of mine in the industry that I've had that have been displaced and lost their jobs, and how just I don't want this industry to be a place where people can't, with confidence, build a career. So that's why I keep pivoting back to how does this industry get back to growth? But to your question, for us, as Xbox or any of the teams that are out there, is it really an outcome of an industry that's not growing? It can grow and it will grow again, but you see this time right now, and the implications have human impact, and we should all reflect on that and think about it. So I just want to say real quick, I don't think there's anything wrong with what Phil's saying here, but it's interesting because like as I'm reading this, it's like, dude, this is COVID. Like this is COVID so artificially inflating the games industry that it's clear like that everything that's happening is the industry correcting itself. How do we get back to growth? We don't for a little while. because we grew way too rapidly in 2020 and 2021. Like the growth that happened in 2020 and 2021 would take years and years to achieve slowly over time. And it happened like that. And it was a balloon, and it blew up real quick and it burst. That's exactly what happened. And that's why I think, like, I'm not so sure, like, Phil's not wrong that we do need to get back to growth, but it's just like, I just don't think it's going to happen I don't think you're going to be able to force it, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think it's like, well, if we do this, this, and that, we'll get back to growth. It's like, no, I think nature just kind of has to take its course here, so to speak, right? So, for lack of a better term. And I think that's exactly what's happening and, he mentions the cost, right? Like, if investors aren't seeing that growth, they're going to question, then why the fuck are we investing this much? It's like, okay, yeah, you're going to have to reduce that as well. We literally saw what Phil's describing literally is what's playing out right now for Sony, where Sony's investing an insane amount of money into their games during a time when there isn't growth, and investors are like, what the fuck, and Sony's just like, okay, well, we have to reduce this shit because it's not justified, and we'll see. We'll see. I feel like that's what I have to keep saying with all this. It says here, as we talk through Microsoft's plans for growth, both with the company and the wider game space, Phil Spencer continually returned to the idea of exclusivity. Gee, I wonder why. This year, Xbox has ported 4 exclusives to other consoles like Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5. For Spencer, this is a way to bring more players and sales to old games, and it's also a way to break some old industry habits like exclusivity that may be responsible for the stagnation of the console market. What? Hold on. How would exclusivity result in the stagnation of a console market? Shouldn't it be the exact opposite? Shouldn't exclusivity actually propel the console market theoretically? Isn't that how it's always been? You create the console and then you create the exclusives for that console that get people excited to buy that console, and then that's what drives the console sales alongside third party. Oh man, here we go. Let's keep going. So now this is a quote from Phil Spencer. Consider 2 years of lack of growth in the gaming industry at the top line. You start to ask yourself, well, I don't want to grow at the expense of the industry. I want to grow as part of the industry. And what do we need to do as an industry to get back on that growth path? I will say every decision we make today and tomorrow is for the better of Xbox, said Spencer. I know sometimes things get weaponized, but that there's some evil in the background that's making us do things. Phil hates exclusives, and that's why... Phil hates exclusives, and that's why we're like PlayStation and Switch now. Every decision we make is to make Xbox stronger in the long run. It doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with every decision we make, but it is fundamental for how we make decisions. For Spencer, moving toward the future is about walking in some part away from exclusivity. This notion that Xbox can only be this one device that plugs into a television isn't something we see in the Gen Z research. Oh, Jesus. No, not Gen Z research. Because nothing else is like that for them. Some of them will have an iPhone, some will have an Android, but all the games and everything is the same. I can still get a TikTok on both of them, at least for now. All of their stuff is available wherever they want. So for Xbox, our brand pivot as we attract and maintain relevance with a younger audience is, quote, Xbox is a place where I can find the great games I want to, end quote. And that's the end of the article. Holy shit, that ended really abruptly, but I think it's clear, dude. I think it's very clear. It's very timely. This article, I think, was published in the middle of me doing the stream, but it's very timely because it's clear what's going on, man. It's clear the path forward. And here, the Gen Z research, bro. He dropped that Gen Z research line, and I'm like, okay, you lost me, Phil. He didn't really say anything too revealing there. Oh man, at this point, my question does not lie with Xbox anymore, right? It's very clear if you read this interview from Phil that exclusivity is over for them. It is. He's just trying to prepare people, and he's making it clear why that is. He's saying because it's about growth. What's interesting to me, the way he frames this interview, and this is how you know, dude, Phil is so media trained, dude. He's been doing this for so long. He knows exactly how to say this shit. I love how he's framing it as like, we're doing the right thing. Okay? We're doing the right thing. We're getting rid of exclusives because we want to see this industry get back to growth. And that's what you should want too. And that's what they should want. And so everybody should do this. And it's like, yeah, fucking tell that to Nintendo. Nintendo's doing just fine. PlayStation could be doing better. I think there's some shit he's saying in here that's definitely trying to highlight, like, you see the problem Sony's having, right? He didn't name drop them, of course, but come on, we all know. He dropped the $300 million in there. Some games go up to $300 million. What game did we find out recently cost $300 million? Spider-Man 2. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Phil's smart. He knows how to work the press here, these interviews. But my question isn't with Microsoft. It's very clear. It's very clear Microsoft's path forward is to be more multi-platform and to begin to demonize exclusivity and to basically paint a picture of, if you support exclusives, you support industry stagnation and all the bad things that are happening in the industry. And that's wild to me. That if there's one takeaway from this interview that I think is kind of fucked up when you really think about it, is he really is trying to weaponize exclusives. And I get it. That's his job to do that because he is trying to, again, he's trying to condition the fan base or, anybody who's listening to, like, yeah, guys, exclusives are bad. Do you understand? Like, they are now bad. They were good when they worked for us and when they helped us, but they don't help us now. They don't, contribute to our growth now. So we need to demonize and it's interesting because he mentions weaponizing, and it's like, that's exactly what you're doing here, Phil. Like, you are weaponizing exclusives. And I get it. It just sounds so great, doesn't it? What if there was just no exclusives? But I think it's insane. Hold on. Antonio, you're saying, have I read the rest of the interviews? Polygon has other parts. He's talking about opening up Xbox to other storefronts. No, I didn't see this. I thought that was the only one. But my real question is, what does PlayStation think of this? Like would Sony agree with Phil? That's what I want to know, man. I would love to know. Like, does Sony think, wow, Phil's right, we're not experiencing growth, and I think exclusives are the reason? Would Sony agree with that? I don't like. I'm not even saying that facetiously. Like, I don't know. Like, would they actually at this point in time agree with that? We're gonna find out. Because going forward, we're going to see more Xbox games announced for PlayStation. Let's see what Sony does. Is Sony going to come out in their next showcase and be like, here are some PlayStation games coming to Xbox? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, but then again, PlayStation does support PC, so I don't know. This is such a weird situation because it's like, I just sat here and I'm like, oh, he's demonizing exclusivity, but like, fuck, man. Did the biggest shot that Phil just took actually was it to Nintendo? Because PlayStation, again, as we established, like, they are kind of multi-plat to an extent because they go to PC now over time. I don't know. I don't think Phil knows what he's doing. I think Phil's trying to build the plane in the air. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's doing a pretty decent job, but I think Microsoft and Phil, I think they're fucking building the plane in the air, and they're trying real hard to get this thing together. Because I don't know, I just get this vibe from them where it's like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing from Phil. I'm so sick and tired of Phil because it's like, it's the same reason why I was frustrated during the Xbox business update, because I just know, like, you guys are just going to try to turn this into something else rather than just talk straight and just shoot straight and just please let us know, like, what the fuck is the situation? And I feel like that's exactly what he did again, because it's like, okay, it's like these layoffs, man. It's such a shame. It's such a shame. We need to get back to growth. Like, gee, wow, Phil. Oh my God, such insight. I don't know. I want to know how Phil really feels. Like that's what it is. I've been hearing Phil Spencer talk for like almost a decade now on behalf of Xbox. Like, I just want to know how he really feels, man. That's all. I would love to know. Like, is he like at night, like sometimes punching air? Because, well, probably not. It's really extreme. But like, does he get pissed off sometimes because he's like, this is bullshit? Like, what more do these people want from us? I do wonder. I really do wonder. Phil is fuming. I will say, I think he slipped a little bit, man. Oh, hold on. I think Phil slipped a little bit when he was like, I don't know who it helps in this industry by Sony not releasing Helldivers on Xbox. Like, I think that was real. I think that was Phil's mask slipping a little bit, where it's like, all right, yeah, he that's eating him up inside. That's really bothering him. Headline from Insider Gaming. Phil Spencer says Activision layoffs were due to lack of growth and need for profits. Oh my God. Insider Gaming not pulling any punches here, bro. You know what? Yeah, that actually is basically what it translates to. The thing I'll say is that has me most concerned for the industry is a lack of growth. So it's basically greed, as we established. Well, whatever. Microsoft's head of gaming has said Xbox's multi-platform brand pivot is partially driven by Gen Z customer behavior, as younger players want to be able to access their content wherever they want. Yeah, so I guess this interview is really starting to make the rounds. I'm just seeing if there's anything else that I may have missed in regards to this. I guess I picked the right day to cover the Xbox topic here, since this interview came out. But yeah, I think this might bring us to our conclusion. I think we pretty much covered everything. So just as a recap, listen to this shit. If working overtime on AAA games with giant budgets is the only way to succeed, then maybe the industry deserves to die, says Dragon Age creator. Savage. I respect that, bro. I fucking respect that. I love that he didn't hold back. He's like, you know what? If this is the only way forward, then fuck this place and fuck this industry. Let it die. I can respect it. No, I think it's a bit of displaced frustration. That's clearly not the only way that the industry can succeed. The industry can succeed in numerous different ways, but it's just the entire industry is, again, man, it's feeling the effects of the artificial growth that was driven by COVID. It's correcting itself and it's painful. Sucks. Sucks for everybody. Helldivers 2 says hello. Make smaller games. Yeah, dude, I cannot wait to see what Sony does, because I just want to know. Sony clearly feels like I don't want to say that they know what to do. I mean, they have to figure out what to do, but I am just dying to know. Like, is Sony just sitting there being like, we're not dropping the budget for the next Naughty Dog game or Ghost of Tsushima 2? Like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're going to keep making these games because they sell a lot and they win lots of awards and they sell consoles. I just like, is that their attitude, or is their attitude really, because to be honest, man, like Sony didn't really even tell their shareholders much. They were just like, the only thing Sony said in regards to games that are currently in development is they were like, we have I'm trying to remember the way they worded it. They were like, we have some big projects in the works and they're still in development. Like, that's basically what they said. And they didn't really say anything beyond that. So I don't know. We feel like we're learning a lot about Xbox, man. And it's fine. I don't mind talking about Xbox, but I want to know more about what's going on with PlayStation. PlayStation is not, they're just not talking very much about their plans. MBG Hiroki is taking over on April 1st. What changes, if any, are you expecting? At first, to be honest, I'm not expecting any changes. I think Hiroki wants to get the fuck out of there as quick as possible. I think he's going to try to save some money, but I don't think that's going to affect us very much. At least it shouldn't. But I think he's going to I think Hiroki Totoki, it's his responsibility to find the new CEO. I think he's going to try to find somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing with money. That's what I think he's going to do. Like, that's the biggest change, is I think he's going to try to find a CEO that is good with money. And that could hurt us. I don't know. I have Miguel here, member for 8 months, saying MBG Sony should release God of War 2018 on Xbox, and then Xbox fans would be like, I've been missing out. Can't wait to play Ragnarok. Buying a PS5 now. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like if Sony were to release God of War 2018 on Xbox, it would be like, I think a lot of people would double dip. Like, I think a lot of Xbox players did buy PlayStations to play God of War, or they played it on PC. But I think it would just be the sheer, like, holy shit, this game's on Xbox. I'm going to buy it again and play it. Like, I do think it would sell. I actually do. I think God of War is one of those games that would actually do really well on Xbox, but I think Sony would see that as, like, again, like that like, I think internally over at Sony, that's like blasphemy. I do. But that would be pretty funny to see, because it would be so random and unexpected. But guys, listen, we are over the 3.5 hour mark. I think this is where I'm going to bring this stream to an end. Definitely longer than I had planned. But it was a good conversation. I enjoyed it. Just some closing and conclusive thoughts here. There's definitely some concern about the Xbox brand. There's concern about the Xbox console. There's concern about overall support for the platform and the storefront by third-party devs and publishers of all sizes. These are things that Microsoft is clearly worried about, and I think they have good reason. And in the midst of all this, we get a Phil Spencer interview where he says we need to get back to growth while condemning exclusivity. I think it's obvious what's going on. I think it's fairly obvious what direction Microsoft is headed in. I think what's not obvious is the end result of all of this. And I wish I could have more conclusive thoughts, but this is like freeform jazz at this point, and you just don't really know what notes are coming next. And we're going to find out. And maybe they're going to land and it's going to be like, that's pretty good. Or it's going to be like, what the fuck was that? We're going to find out. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Before I head out, I do just want to thank you guys for all of the support. 10 members today. Thank you. I think that was Corey and Hellbound who both gifted memberships. So on Slipknot on Dead by Daylight. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to check this out. You're saying, but jazz is good, Xbox isn't. Well, the jazz analogy was for the entire industry. I mean, obviously it pertains to the topic at hand, but definitely the entire industry. I can't no members lounge today, unfortunately. But dude, I did 3 members lounges in a row. It's like over 3 hours worth of content for just the members. So go check that out. But yeah, shout out to everybody who gifted some memberships today. Shout out to all of my members who support the channel. And also a big thank you to everybody who dropped super chats over the course of today's stream. I really appreciate all of the continued support. The last request I'll have before I end this is hit that like button, guys. You're crushing it today. We're at 328. As you're heading out, just hit that like button real quick. I think we could easily get to like 340, something like that. Corey comes in and says, in my opinion, Xbox still looks like Sega. Well, there we go. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for now. And as always, never forget Xbox sucks. I'm just kidding. That's my outro. But all right, guys. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. I should have another stream tomorrow. Same time again, 12 p.m. Eastern. All right. So if you want to tune in, 12 p.m. Eastern, I'll see you guys tomorrow. So until then, take care, everyone.